As twilight's hush settles over your chamber, you feel the velvet weight of the evening wrap around your shoulders like a soft, silent lullaby. Close your eyes, dear one, and let the last glow of lantern fire play across your lashes, flickering in time with your breath. Outside, the Roman night exhales the scent of cooled marble and distant olive groves, the gentle strains of a lyre threading through open windows. Allow these murmurs of ancient life to carry you into a world both familiar and strange, where every flicker of torchlight holds a secret, and every breath may be your own last under the watchful eyes of invisible gods. You stand at the threshold of a world that has claimed you long before you could name it, far from the laughter of your girlhood games, beyond the patter of painted wooden horses and simple songs you once sang by the hearth. Now, your reflection lies in polished bronze, shrouded beneath a veil of shimmering red, and you realize the girl who danced barefoot in the courtyard has become something else. An instrument of alliance, a name written upon contracts thicker than any love letter. This night marks your passage not into tenderness, but into expectation, where tomorrow's dawn may find you trembling in silence, bound to customs older than the city's stones. No one spoke of this fear openly, not the matrons who brushed your hair into spirals of brass combs, nor the stern tutors who drilled into you the virtues of obedience and grace. They spoke instead of Juno's favor, of blessings whispered by flaring torches and auspicious dreams. Yet in the hush of moonlight, you could almost hear the whispers of women who came before, voices like distant bells tolling beneath the ground, warning of futures sealed by dowries and oaths, of hearts grown faint beneath concrete obligations. Political marriages carry the weight of empires. You are but a fragile hinge upon which the doors of alliance swing, never resting in place. Feel the cool silk of your tunic against your back as you move through the colonnade, each step echoing upon polished stone. The statues of draped goddesses gaze down, unblinking, their marble eyes as cold as the duke's promise that birthed this union. He is a man you have met but twice, his smile measured, his voice courteous but distant as the sea in a foreign harbor. His father's seal rests heavy in your mother's palm, an unspoken contract that joy has no place here. Instead, there is duty. There is the hush of expectation, so thick it presses against your chest, making the world narrow to a corridor of lamp-lit walls and hushed, supportive hands guiding you toward a fate you did not choose. Imagine the small, secret tremor in your fingertips as they graze the polished edge of the couch where you will rest before the ceremony. Remember the stories of Livia, who lost nearly everything to her husband's ambition, her laughter swallowed by the palace walls, of Julia, whose sharp tongue was silenced by a womb that would not yield an heir. Their names linger like half-forgotten dreams, and you wonder if your own name will ever be spoken again, or become an echo among the many who came and were gone. In this moment, you are both cocooned and exposed, protected by layers of fabric and ceremony, yet utterly vulnerable beneath. Close your eyes and picture the first hush of the ceremony, the low chanting of priests, the scent of frankincense drifting like a prayer across your skin. You step forward, veiled in flame-colored silk, the flammium that both shields and marks you. It whispers against your face, muffling the outside world until all you know is this bleeding red shroud. Under its fold, you are both hidden and revealed, your identity rewritten in the language of tradition. The light is dim. The outline of your groom blurs through gauze, as distant to you as a memory not yet made. Every heartbeat echoes in your ears, each pulse a silent question. Will I emerge from this night as the same girl who once dreamed of summer meadows and jasmine petals? Or will I become nothing more than the bride, the wife, the vessel for lineage and legacy? In the sacred hush, they ask you to relinquish your childhood, to lay aside the tokens of youth at the feet of the household gods. You recall the wooden doll you carved yourself, its painted smile chipped long ago, its bows untied by your own impatient hands. Tomorrow, it will rest in silence beside the lararium, a gift to unseen spirits in exchange for acceptance. Each offering of innocence is a stone dropped into the well of your memory, leaving ripples that fade but never vanish. The ache in your throat is not for love lost, but for the girl who leaves you now, slipping between the fingers of fate with a quiet, irrevocable despair. Breathe deeply, letting the cool air fill your lungs. You hear the distant clang of a kettle drum, calling you to the next act of this ritual play, anointing oils poured into your hair by trembling hands, the scent of myrtle and rose mingling with the weight of responsibility. Every drop feels heavy, a symbol of purification, before a life bound by alliances and heirs. You sense the eyes of elder women upon you, your mother bearing both pride and hidden sorrow, and your grandmother, whose own wedding night remains a silent scar upon her heart. They offer soft murmurs of counsel. Remember your place, guard your silence, endure with grace. But their words can do little to soften the coil of fear tightening within. Now feel the slow turning of the bronze latch as the inner door creaks open, revealing the chamber where you will greet your husband for the very first time, in the most sacred of intimacies. The lamps within cast long shadows across draped tapestries, the portraits of ancestors watching with eternal poise. It is here, in this sanctum of expectations, that you confront the unknown. A man's hands, unfamiliar and perhaps gentle, perhaps indifferent. A night that will judge you not by the gentle tremors of your heart, but by the yield of your body, the success of an ancient rite passed down through generations. Yet, beyond this tangible dread, feel the hush of solidarity with the countless women who have stood where you now stand, their names erased by time, their stories sealed behind cold stone and crumbling papyrus. You are part of that silent sisterhood, bound by threads of loss and longing that no triumph of empire can sever. In this sisterhood lies a fragile strength, a knowledge that even as you step into this life of shadows and solemn vows, your spirit remains yours, flickering like a lone candle against the dark. Allow that candle to burn low, guiding you through the final steps of this prologue. You are more than a contract. You are more than a vessel for heirs. You carry within you an ember of every girl you once were, and every woman you may yet become. And as your foot crosses that threshold into the chamber of unspoken truths, let your breath steady, your heart find its quiet rhythm. For even in this night of fear, there is a spark of something enduring, an unbroken line of resilience that lives in every woman who dared to dream beyond the walls built for her. Rest now, dear one, upon the threshold of dread and destiny alike. Let your eyelids grow heavy as the hush of history closes in, and know that while this night may test you in ways you cannot yet see, the dawn will someday find you whole, beneath a sky reborn in light. As the heavy doors close behind you, muffling the distant murmur of torches in the corridor, you find yourself standing alone in the half-light of the bridal chamber. The flicker of a single oil lamp casts wavering shadows on the draped tapestries, their threads woven with the stories of ancestors whose voices you cannot hear, but whose expectations you feel pressing upon you like unseen hands. You pause at the threshold, letting the silk of your tunic brush against your thighs, the heat of the night air settling coldly on your uncovered skin. This is the moment your parents warned you of, the one whispered about but never truly described, your first night as a wife. You cross the room on silent feet, each step measured and deliberate, as though the stones themselves might betray your presence with a groan. The bed looms before you, its canopy heavy with crimson drapes that mirror the flammeum you shed moments ago. Beneath its folds lies your husband, reclining on plush cushions, his posture courteous yet guarded, as distant as the moon beyond the latticework window. In his hand, he holds a goblet of watered wine, the faint aroma of musk and myrtle curling through the air. You wonder, for the first time, if he too is swayed by fear, if his own lineage, etched in bronze busts lining the room, rested vulnerable on this singular night. Your heart hammers in your chest as you approach the bed. You recall the lesson on modesty drilled into you by the matrons. Hold your head high, avert your gaze, speak only when spoken to. And yet, in this intimate half-darkness, all your lessons falter. You feel the ache of isolation coil around your ribs, tightening with every breath. The matrons did not tell you how lonely it would feel, nor how hollow your words might become when trapped between these silken walls. Your husband sets aside his goblet and inclines his head in a brief greeting. His voice, when it comes, is soft, cultivated through years of rhetorical training, but you hear an edge of uncertainty beneath the practiced courtesy. "My wife," he says, each syllable weighed by ceremony. "Tonight we fulfill the bond of our ancestors." He gestures to the cushions beside him, a polite invitation, and yet you know what lies beyond politeness. A sweeping tide of expectation that threatens to wash away your very sense of self. You seat yourself at the edge of the bed. The cushions sink slightly beneath your weight, as though aware of your trepidation. You run your fingers along the embroidered hem of the mattress, tracing the pattern of laurel wreaths that symbolize triumph. Even here, you are reminded that marriage is victory, not for you, but for the families you unite. The hush deepens. The lamp's flame sputters once, and you startle, your pulse echoing in your ears like the beating of distant war drums. In this fragile stillness, your mind drifts back to the women whose fates have been sealed by similar nights. The noble Vestal whom you studied in your lessons, her flame extinguished for a single misstep, reminds you of how quickly rituals can turn from protection to imprisonment. And the poet's daughter, whose verses once echoed softly through marble halls, only to be forgotten when her own pen was snatched away by marriage contracts. Their stories swirl in your chest, a turbulent sea of sorrow and resignation. Your husband leans forward, authoritative yet uncertain, laying a hand upon the bedspread. "We must begin," he says softly. You nod, aware that any hesitation could be read as disrespect. He reaches for the edge of your tunic. At his touch, a shiver runs along your spine, equal parts dread and the unexpected spark of something you cannot name. His fingers brush against the cool fabric, lifting it slowly. You feel the weight of 1,000 eyes upon you. Ancestors, gods, politicians, even your own mother's silent approval or veiled disappointment. As the cloth slides upward, your flesh tastes of embarrassment, an unfamiliar flavor you never anticipated. You recall the words of the old matron who taught you to oil your skin before marriage, to create a barrier of scent and silk that would entice your husband, preserve your modesty. Now the oil smears beneath calloused fingertips, its fragrance mingling with the musk of fear. You close your eyes, inhaling that mingled scent as though it might steady your nerves, but instead it draws forth a quiet sob that you suppress with a tremor of your jaw. The next moments pass in a haze of whispered incantations and unspoken prayers. Your husband's hands are gentle, cautious, almost reluctant, as if he too trembles before the ritual. You sense his hesitation in the slight tremor of his touch, the way his breath catches as he moves closer, and yet there is an inevitability that neither of you can deny. This night must be passed, this bond consummated, these contracts honored. He draws you into the cushions, and for a heartbeat, your bodies align in an unfamiliar intimacy that neither of you has fully mapped. Beneath the tapestry canopy, the world narrows to a point, a single flickering flame between you. Your senses sharpen, the thrum of his pulse against your ear, the scent of rose oil mingled with his own sweat, the softness of the embroidered sheets beneath you. Time slows, each second stretched thin as though your very soul is being measured. You feel the smooth curve of his arm, the roughness of his palm against your back, and in that strange, tense ecstasy, you realize that nothing will ever feel the same again. Then, as quickly as it began, it ends. The hush returns, thicker now, a tangible presence that presses upon your ears and chest alike. You lie side by side, draped in crimson and white, your bodies entangled yet hearts miles apart. You sense the faint exhalation of your husband's breath, the soft shift of the covers, but you cannot find the words to fill the yawning emptiness between. He withdraws, leaving you to gather the tattered fragments of your innocence from the folds of the sheets. You feel a pang of grief, sharp, sudden, at the memory of the wooden doll left at the shrine, now replaced by a memory far more personal and irrevocable. Your husband melts into silence, as though unsure whether to offer words of comfort or to respect the sanctity of this new morning. When he finally speaks, his voice is hushed, almost regretful. "You honor me," he says. "May the gods grant us peace." You answer with a quiet nod, though your throat feels raw. Outside the chamber, the first stirrings of dawn lighten the sky. You realize that night, in all its dread, has given way to day. Though whether that day holds promise or further confinement, you cannot tell. All you know is that the woman you are waking up as is not the same girl who went to bed beneath the flammeum. Lying there, you sense the weight of your new identity settling upon you like the chill of marble. You are now wife, negotiator of alliances, vessel for heirs. Your fate is bounded by the contracts exchanged in darkened chambers, solemn oaths uttered beneath canopies of silk. And yet, beneath that weight, you feel a seed of something raw and unspoken, the quiet tragedy of your own selfhood, slipping away like water through a closed fist. But in that moment of loss, you also glimpse a fragile spark, an ember of resistance flickering in the shadowy quiet between your breaths. It is the echo of every woman who has borne her fear beneath these same silken canopies, whose voices were silenced yet whose spirits endured. You realize that though you are bound by blood and contract, your spirit remains beyond the reach of any law. It lingers in the breath you hold, the tears you stifle, the hope you must hide to survive. As the first rays of sunlight slip through the lattice, painting golden bars across the silken drapes, you rise from the bed. Your limbs feel heavy, as though burdened by the memories of every bride who came before you. You wrap the crimson veil once more around your shoulders, not in ceremony, but to steel yourself against the day to come. The hush of the night retreats, replaced by the distant clang of water pots and the muted voices of servants preparing the morning meal. You step toward the door, pausing to run your fingertips over the carved mahogany handle, its surface cool and solid in your palm. In that moment, you understand that your story will continue, woven into the fabric of this house, this lineage, this empire. And while the memory of your first night as a wife will remain a silent scar upon your heart, it will also mark the beginning of a journey that only you can walk. Move forward now, dear one, into the fragile light of your new life. Let each step be guided by the silent sisterhood, whose names are lost to history, whose voices whisper through the marbled halls of this world. And though your path may be shadowed by obligations and alliances, carry with you the unspoken truth that even within the confines of contracts and canopies your spirit endures, bright and unbroken. This night has taken from you much, but it has also revealed a quiet strength you never knew you possessed, an ember that may one day become a flame of your own making. As the dawn's pale light seeps through your chamber, you awaken to a world that feels both familiar and irrevocably changed. The linens beneath you are cool and stiff, gilded with faint impressions of last night's rites, and the canopy above shimmers with a dusty glow. Outside, the household stirs to life, distant footsteps on marble corridors, the soft clink of pottery in the atrium, the muted calls of servants preparing the day's first bread and porridge. You lie still for a moment, gathering the fragments of your scattered thoughts, each one a shard of memory from the night you passed through thresholds no girl should ever cross without trembling. When at last you rise, your limbs feel heavier than you recall, laden not only with the physical exertion of yesterday's ceremony, but with the weight of expectation that now drapes you as surely as the crimson veil once did. You wrap a plain tunic, white as innocence or as emptiness, around your shoulders, fastening its brooch at your collarbone with deliberate care, though your fingers tremble. Each movement is an exercise in restraint, an attempt to carve some small agency from the rigid contours of your new role. You make your way to the atrium, the heart of the Roman household, where the central impluvium collects the dawn dew. The marble floor is polished to a mirror-like sheen, and in its reflection you see a woman who gazes back at you with wide, unsettled eyes. That reflection, the same yet not the same, is a testament to how thoroughly you have been transformed. Once you would have hurried through these halls as a carefree girl, chasing sunbeams and giggling with the younger children of the household. Now your steps are measured, your posture erect. Behind you, the carved figures of your ancestors seem to lean in, silent judges of your every motion. Your mother-in-law greets you with a courteous nod, her expression both approving and inscrutable. She is a woman who mastered her role long ago, her spirit tempered by years of ritual, gossip, and sacrifice. She does not ask you of last night, such a question would be indiscreet, but she lists your duties for the day. Attend the midday meal with her and her confidants, oversee the spinning of wool in the upper gallery, and receive the jewelers who have come to discuss the next festival's adornments. Each task is a thread in the tapestry of your new life, and you sense that any misstep, an inadvertent smile, a moment's hesitation could unravel it all. In the triclinium, you recline upon a low couch alongside your husband and his family, their conversation a low hum of politics and property. They speak of grain shipments from Sicily, of the Senate's latest decree on land allotments, of alliances that shift like sand under the empire's vast weight. You offer only modest responses, chosen carefully to demonstrate your education, yet avoid the appearance of overreaching. When your husband mentions a planned delegation to Alexandria, you murmur your assent, though every fiber of your being aches to ask if you might accompany him, an unthinkable breach of decorum. Instead, your voice remains soft, pliant, molding itself to the expectations laid before you. After the meal, you retire to the upper gallery, where the wool workers have already begun their rhythmic loom shuttle dance. The shuttle glides back and forth, twisting threads into fine fabric, a gentle reminder that women's labor, though unseen by the public eye, underpins the grandeur of Rome. You lean over the loom, fingers trailing across the nascent cloth, feeling its rough warmth beneath your touch. The craftswomen exchange polite glances, their eyes flicking to you with a mixture of curiosity and pity. They know what you have lost: playful freedom, the laughter of children's games, the right to choose your companion. And perhaps they also sense the quiet terror that still pulses beneath your measured calm. In that silent communion, you glimpse a truth often lost in the grand narratives of empires. The everyday lives of women are the true bedrock of history, built from moments of courage and grief, woven by hands that rarely receive credit. These textile makers, half forgotten by marble monument and stone edict, embody a resilience you envy. Their hands move with practiced ease, their conversation drifting to the births and deaths in neighboring houses, to the pains of motherhood and the bittersweet joys of a daughter's wedding. You catch snatches of their stories: the young matron who died in childbirth, leaving 3 sons motherless, the widow who repurposed her dowry into a successful workshop, each tale a testament to survival within stringent confines. By afternoon, you find yourself drawn to the lararium, the household shrine to which you once entrusted your childhood toys. Now, you stand before the same shrines, offering incense not for games or innocence, but for the fragile continuance of your lineage. The flickering flame of the eternal lamp casts dancing shadows of the lairs and penates upon the walls, their tiny figures carved in stone yet alive in the flicker of worship. You pour a libation of milk, whispering to the household spirits for patience, for protection, for peace in this turbulent new existence. As the liquid seeps into the sacred grooves of the marble altar, you feel your own resolve harden, if only slightly, against the tide of your fears. When evening approaches, a different ritual begins. The family's rhetorician arrives to tutor you in the art of oration, an unexpected privilege granted to only the most esteemed houses. You take your place on a cushioned stool, quill in hand and scroll unfurled, as he recites passages of Cato and Cicero. His voice is precise, his expectations high. You must speak clearly, argue logically, and demonstrate the virtues befitting a Roman matron. You recite your assigned lines, your voice wavering at first but gaining steadiness with each phrase. The rhetor nods in approval, yet you sense that your success today will only raise the bar for tomorrow. You are expected not merely to survive, but to excel, an intense pressure that sits like a crown of iron upon your head. Under the tutelage of the rhetor, you glimpse the power that words can wield, the capacity to sway an assembly, to secure a contract, to influence the fates of families. For a fleeting moment, you imagine harnessing that power toward your own ends, petitioning the magistrate for a respite, advocating for women's rights to property, or asserting your voice in the public sphere. But these dreams dissolve as quickly as they arise. The path of a woman in Rome must remain within the invisible walls of household politics and prescribed virtue. You tuck the scroll away, chastened yet oddly exhilarated, aware that even in confinement, your mind remains a spark waiting for a chance to kindle. Night falls once more, and you retire to your private chamber. The oil lamp's glow is subdued, its light soft against the painted walls. You loosen your hair, no longer bound by bridal combs, and let its dark waves cascade over your shoulders, a small act of rebellion against the braided coiffure that first marked your transition. You slip beneath the sheets and close your eyes, but sleep evades you. Instead, you lie awake, aware of the rhythmic breathing of the household around you, the distant sound of the guard's patrol, the faintest whisper of wind through an open window. In the quiet, your thoughts return to the women whose stories echo through your life. You think of Livia, who navigated every court intrigue with quiet cunning, sacrificing her own desires to secure her grandson's future. You remember the poet's daughter, whose verses were lost when she became a bride, her voice suppressed beneath legal jargon and dowry clauses. You recall the Vestal Virgin, whose imagined purity cost her freedom when a single misstep stained her reputation. Each of these women, forgotten by the grand ages of history, lives on in the silent spaces of your mind, teaching you that identity is more than contract and ceremony. It is memory, resilience, and the courage to whisper even when the world demands silence. As the hours stretch, you begin to shape your own quiet rebellion. In the morning, you will attend the festival of Minerva, adorning yourself in a gown of green and silver, offering prayers for wisdom and craft. You will stand among the women of the neighborhood, each of you caught between tradition and change, handmaidens of custom and bearers of untold potential. You will weave your own story into the communal tapestry, not as a passive thread, but as a bold color that might yet expand the pattern. Rest now, dear one, and let your mind drift between the known and the unknown. Let the night carry you through memories of mothers and daughters, of sisters in sorrow and solidarity. Remember that though your body may be bound by law, your spirit remains untouchable, soaring beyond marble halls and woven cloth. And when you awaken, carry with you the legacy of every woman whose life has taught you that true power lies not in titles or contracts, but in the indomitable strength of the heart. Tonight, you sleep not merely as a wife, but as a living testament to the quiet tragedies and enduring echoes of women in history. Women whose stories, like lantern light in a marble hall, flicker against the darkness, refusing to be extinguished. Let that light guide you into dreams, where fear may soften and hope, however fragile, may blossom anew. As the sun dips below the horizon, the evening star appears above the tattered fringes of the villa's red-tiled roof. You stand on the broad marble steps of the entranceway, your silhouette framed by the fading light, and breathe in the scent of cypress smoke and drying earth. Tonight, you will walk again through those same corridors, but now with a purpose shaped by both fear and resolve. Take a moment to feel the warm breeze against your skin, to let the twilight hush settle around you like a silken shawl. This is the beginning of your final descent into the roles that await, and the quiet hope that you may yet transcend them. You move through the atrium, where the morning's dew has glinted upon fountain spray, now replaced by the dim glow of oil lamps. Servants scurry about, some busying themselves with evening chores, others simply stealing glances at the lady of the house, whose countenance has grown both composed and distant in the span of months. Each step you take echoes against the high arches, reminding you of how far you have already traveled since that first bridal night. No longer is your presence defined by the flammeum's flame color or the binding of your hair. Now you are known for poise, discretion, and the growing confidence in your measured words. You ascend the broad stone staircase to the upper gallery, entering the cool hush of your private chambers. There, on a low table of cedar wood, rests a small bronze mirror, its surface dulled by time and incense residue. You have been told that to look upon oneself too often is vanity, yet you pause to lift the mirror and see a face both familiar and changed. The sharp curve of your jaw, the gentle arch of your brow, the set of your lips, each detail speaks of endurance, of a life lived within rigid confines yet never broken. You trace a line across the glass, as if drawing a boundary between the girl you were and the woman you are becoming. In the reflection, you recognize not just a wife, but a testament to survival. Turning away, you approach the writing desk beneath the window. Scattered upon its surface are wax tablets and styluses, tokens of your newfound skill in letter writing. Political marriages may have thrust you into silence, yet words remain your refuge. Tonight, you intend to pen a letter, not to your husband, but to your mother, who resides 2 estates beyond the forum. Your hand hovers over the tablet as though weighing the risks of defying convention. Silence has served you thus far, but perhaps a sealed wax message can carry the whisper of your own will across the miles. You begin, "Mother, the night wind brings memories of our girlhood laughter." Your stylus moves, slow and deliberate, each stroke a small act of reclamation. As you write, you recall the stories of Cornelia, Gracchus's mother, who wore the simple jewelry of a matron yet wielded letters like weapons to defend her son's legacies. You imagine her guiding hand at your shoulder, urging you to use this humble medium to shape your own fate. The script grows more confident with every line, and you imprint upon the wax the seal of your family's crest, a silent assertion that though you live beneath another roof, the spirit of your birth family still courses through your veins. Finished, you fold the tablet and seal it, feeling a flutter of daring in your chest. Even if the letter never reaches your mother, the act of writing it has reminded you that voice and agency remain possible. Even here, in this gilded imprisonment, you place the message in a slender envelope bound for the courier's pouch, entrusting your words to the hands of fate. With that small triumph behind you, you drift toward the larder where the household steward measures spices and oils for tomorrow's feast. You offer to assist, your hands sliding gracefully along jars of cinnamon, coriander, and rare silphium. The steward eyes you with surprised respect. Perhaps he senses that you now understand more than the roles of hostess and matron. In your fingertips, the mundane task of seasoning becomes a metaphor for your life, subtle influences that determine flavor and memory, visible only to those who pay attention. As he allows you to grind the silphium into fine powder, you feel the sharp, peppery scent spark your senses, an aromatic reminder that even constrained lives can leave indelible impressions. Evening deepens, and you make your way to the garden courtyard, where the moonlight pools between the shadows of olive and fig trees. A marble bench awaits beneath a flowering vine, whose blossoms have begun to wilt, petals drifting upon the cool stone like pale tears. You sit and draw in the night air, the soft drone of cicadas and the distant cackle of a night heron, weaving a lullaby of sorrow and hope. Here you are alone, free from the scrutiny of in-laws and servants. Here you can breathe. Lean back and close your eyes, letting the night's quiet cradle you. Memories drift unbidden, your wedding procession, torchlight flickering against the marble columns, the hush of the bridal chamber's canopy, the stunned silence that followed. Yet beneath those early fears lies a current of resilience, an ember that has grown through months of ritual, duty, and secret rebellions. You recognize now that each ceremony, each public role you inhabited, taught you not just how to submit, but how to observe, learn, and adapt. The empire itself, capable of both cruelty and grandeur, reflects the duality within you, a public facade and a private flame. Rise from the bench and walk among the statues that line the peristyle. Some depict goddesses of wisdom, others goddesses of love. Some unknown heroes, others nameless figures whose heads have crumbled away. You touch the cool marble flanks of one statue, a woman whose features have been eroded by centuries of wind. Even in ruin, she stands unbowed. In that silent communion, you draw strength from her ruined beauty. You recall the countless Roman women whose lives have been similarly marked by time's erosion, wives and daughters, mothers and widows, whose names have vanished but whose legacies echo in the grit of daily survival. Turning, you descend once more into the atrium, where the household gathers for the wine service before supper. Your husband stands at the head of the table, his posture confident as senatorial robes drape his shoulders. He catches your eye and offers a respectful bow, as if acknowledging both your shared union and your individual growth. You return the gesture, your mind recalling the letter you dispatched, the spice you ground, the words you composed in solitude. In that moment, the balance has shifted. You are no longer simply the wife of an influential man, but a woman who has cultivated her own authority, however quiet. Later, as the final goblets are drained and the servants clear the plates, you slip away once more to your chambers. You sit by the window, gazing out at the city lights, knowing that while your path remains fraught with obligations, you possess now the tools to navigate it. Words, observation, small acts of defiance. You will not be erased. You take your pencil and open your diary, an illicit treasure that you keep hidden beneath your mattress. With careful strokes, you record the day's events, the way you sealed your letter, the scent of silphium, the touch of marble beneath your palm. These are the details that no official chronicle will ever capture, yet they are the lifeblood of your own story. You write of your fears, your hopes, and the flame of resolve that flickers within. You confess the quiet joy that comes from claiming even the smallest freedom in a world built to contain you. As the candle gutter putters low and the last ember of wax pools on the table, you close your diary and slide it under the mattress. You stand and move to the bed, laying back beneath the soft white sheets. You feel the cool fabric against your skin and allow yourself a single centered breath. Outside, the night carries the distant bark of a guard dog and the rustle of leaves. Inside, your heart beats with a steady certainty. While you may have entered matrimony as a vessel for alliance and heirs, you will continue life as the author of your own days. Let your thoughts drift, dear one, between the flicker of candlelight and the hush of slumber. Carry with you the memory of the marble women whose resilience spoke across centuries, the fragrance of silphium on your fingertips, and the boldness of your sealed letter winging toward your mother's hearth. Remember that even beneath the weight of contracts and dynasties, the quiet power of a woman's spirit can endure, and that every small act of self-assertion shapes the world as indelibly as any decree from the forum. Rest now, and let your dreams carry you through the silent corridors of possibility, where your name, once bound by tradition, may one day resound as loudly as any senator's. In the cool dawn to come, Rise as both wife and witness, bearer of ancient legacies and harbinger of your own. And in that dawn's first glow, know that the greatest marriage of all is the union of your courage and your voice, an unbreakable bond that not even the oldest rites can undo. As the dusk breeze drifts through the open lattice, carrying the faint scent of jasmine and dusted earth, you feel your eyelids grow heavy. Allow the whispers of night to enfold you as lanterns sputter low in distant corridors. Close your eyes, dear one, and let your breath slow to the rhythm of ancient lullabies, soft chants offered at household shrines, the low rustle of linen in marble halls. Tonight, you will journey back through centuries to a world where the tender bloom of womanhood carried both promise and peril, and where the first caress of adulthood was bound by fate, custom, and the weight of unspoken contracts. Imagine yourself as a young woman in Sumer, under the copper sky of early Mesopotamia. You walk barefoot upon sun-baked mud brick, the heat still lingering in the stones even as the twilight cools. Clutched in your palm is a clay token, pressed with the seal of your father's name, proof of your value, proof of your purity. Across the courtyard, your mother watches from the threshold, her hands folded, her eyes both proud and sorrowful. You once danced here freely, trailing garlands of wildflowers, laughing as the wind tangled your hair. But now, as the day wanes, you will dance only once more, before an assembly of neighbors and clan elders, before you cross the threshold from girl to wife, virgin to woman in the eyes of the gods. The courtyard is ringed by onlookers, stern-faced elders wrapped in woolen cloaks, younger women whose laughter has grown quiet with age, and children who peer from behind columns, curious about the ceremony they do not yet understand. At the center, a simple dais is draped in red cloth, an auspicious color of life and blood. You step onto the platform, your arms trembling as you release the token into your mother's hand. She presses it into a shallow earthen bowl, where it will mingle with frankincense and dates offered to Inanna, goddess of love and war. The incense coils upward, and you inhale its heady sweetness. This is the rite that seals your fate. Once the token is burned, you are no longer free, but pledged to a man you have met only twice. Your heart pounds with both excitement and fear. In ancient Ur, to lose your virginity could mean security, status, the promise of children whose names would echo yours for generations. Yet it could also mean betrayal. Husbands who saw virginity as a commodity. Families who used the bond as currency in a ruthless weave of alliances. Beneath the dais, you can feel the earth tremble with the weight of those unspoken stories, of daughters who vanished into distant households, never to speak of home again. When the token has turned to ash, you are led away to a private chamber. The walls are painted with scenes of shepherds and lotus blossoms. Oil lamps cast dancing shadows across the bas-reliefs. A matron prepares you for the night to come. She anoints your arms with sesame oil, murmuring prayers for fertility and mercy. Her fingers move with practiced gentleness, yet there is no comfort here, only the solemn recognition that once the lamp is extinguished, you will cross a boundary from which there is no turning back. Feel the silk of your shift against your skin, cool as river stones. You loosen your braid, letting dark coils spill over your shoulders like a waterfall. The matron tucks a small wreath of myrtle into your hair, its fragrance sweet and faintly bitter, a reminder that love often tastes of grief. In the hush, you recall the story of Enheduanna, high priestess of Nana, who penned hymns of faith while her own life was dictated by kings and priests. You wonder if she too lay trembling in a chamber, her body bound by duty even as her mind soared among the stars. When at last the door closes behind you, you stand alone. The hush is overwhelming. Your pulse echoes in your ears as you move toward the low bed, its linen sheets neatly folded. You settle among the cushions, every nerve alight with anticipation. In the courtyard, distant drums still echo the festival of the harvest. Above, the first star of evening glimmers through an open window. You draw your knees close, wrapping your arms around them as though to hold fast to the innocence you still possess, if only for another heartbeat. Then, beneath the thin glow of the lamp, a shape emerges at the threshold. Your husband-to-be stands framed in the doorway, a youth like yourself, clad in the simple Kaniki skirt of herdsman, but bearing the seal of his father's house. His eyes flicker with uncertainty. He bows his head in greeting, and you sense his own trepidation, the unspoken question echoing in your chest: how does one love a stranger? He offers a small gift, a necklace of polished carnelian beads warmed by his palm. It is both a token of welcome and a subtle demand, a promise of what he expects to gain. Your breath catches. You realize that this night will not simply mark your transition into adulthood. It will define your worth to your new family, to the gods, and to yourself. In Sumer, virginity was sacred, a sign of favor from Inanna, a guarantee of legitimate heirs. Should you fail to conceive, or should the rites be found flawed, you might face exile, shame, or worse. Yet within this fear lies a tender hope, that through this union you might secure a measure of love, or at least respect, in a world that grants women so little autonomy. His fingers brush yours as he sets the beads around your neck. The stones are cool against your throat, a curious weight that grounds you in the moment. He withdraws, bowing again, and the lamp's flame shudders. Then his steps retreat, leaving you alone once more to gather your courage. You ease back onto the mattress, drawing the thin woolen blanket to your chin, and listen to the distant hum of the household, a lullaby for your final vigil as a daughter of your father's house. Centuries later, under the rosy glow of a Greek sunset, you awaken in a different chamber, pillowed upon cushions of embroidered linen. The Aegean breeze drifts through open doors, carrying the salty tang of the sea and the hum of cicadas. You are the daughter of a wealthy merchant in Miletus, your life woven into the trade routes between Anatolia and Egypt. Your name, once a secret melody in your mother's lullabies, now graces tablets recording grain shipments and dowries. You have been married this day, at the hour when the sun dipped toward the horizon, to a man you've rarely spoken to beyond formal greetings at symposiums. Tonight, you lie upon the Klein used in symposium halls, its silver feet polished to a mirror shine. In the courtyard below, servants dance with flaming torches, their shadows leaping across Ionic columns. You can faintly hear the clink of cups and the laughter of your father-in-law's guests. Yet here, above the revelry, you sit alone. A maid brings you wine infused with honey and lavender, pressing the goblet into your hand before slipping away. You cradle the cup, its weight a reminder of tradition, that you must sip, not drink, and maintain composure no matter the swell of your heart. Out of a habit, you trace the carved meander pattern on the wooden rim, the eternal flow of time, the looping dance of birth and death. You recall the teachings of Sappho, whose verses once fretted at the confines of expectation, whose yearning voice still echoes in the silver vessels now stored in your bedchamber. You ache for that freedom of expression, yet you sense the unsteady flicker of your own desire, entwined with dread. In the Greco-Roman world, virginity was lauded as purity, a liminal state between maidenhood and motherhood. To lose it by conquest or by choice was to step into a shadowed realm where your body belonged to both husband and empire. When your husband arrives, guided by a torchbearer, you close your eyes and steady your breathing. His hand touches your shoulder, gentle and hesitant. You turn to meet his gaze, once bright with curiosity, now clouded by the gravity of ritual. He offers no words, only a nod of acknowledgement. Instinctively, you lift your chin, recalling the voice of Pericles' wife Aspasia, whose intellect shone even as she navigated the treacherous eddies of public opinion. You wonder if she too felt this coil of expectations tightening around her ribs, this dual need to please gods and men alike. He stands beside you on the Klein, the soft thrum of lyres echoing below. In the hush, you feel the weight of generations, daughters of Sparta whose bodies were trained for state service, Egyptian priestesses whose consecration rites bound their flesh to the cult of Isis. Each culture has its own rites, its own myths of virginity and marriage, but the undercurrent is always similar. Women's bodies as vessels of lineage and power, their virtue as fragile as glass. Your husband lifts the fine linen veil that covers you, a filmy cloth woven with threads of gold. As it slips away, the torchlight paints a halo across your brow. You feel exposed, yet also strangely luminous. The ritual baths, the perfumes of rose and myrrh, the prayers uttered by elder women. Each step was meant to prepare you, to sanctify your flesh. Yet no ceremony can fully shield against the ache of leaving your childhood behind, the ache of becoming property under law. His hand brushes your wrist. You raise your eyes and see not a conqueror, but a young man burdened by his own inheritance. The name of his father, the debts of his estate, the expectations of a society that prizes sons above daughters. He kneels and sets his lips to your hand, a gesture of courtesy, not passion. In that simple kiss, you sense both the promise of respect and the silence that will follow. The night spent apart as he pursues affairs of state or pleasure. You draw a slow breath, the lavender wine still clinging to your lips, and wonder if this careful politeness, is the closest either of you will come to tenderness. Far to the east, beneath the cerulean canopy of Hanlon's summer sky, another woman prepares for her wedding night. She is the daughter of a scholar in the Han court, her mind steeped in the classics of Confucius even as her body is bound by silk and ritual. Her journey to the bridal chamber is marked by the soft clatter of jade bracelets, the floral prints of her phoenix robe, and the hush of courtiers who line the corridors with lanterns swaying like fireflies. Here, virginity is more than mere biology. It is cosmic harmony, yin awaiting yang. To lose it is to merge one's essence with that of a man, an act blessed by ancestors and deities alike. Yet it can also be a profound unbalancing, a slip in the great order that demands constancy and restraint. When the crimson drapes of the bridal sedan lower, you find yourself seated upon a palanquin cushioned with silk. Beneath your feet, the mottled jade tile floor is so distant that you feel as though you float between worlds. Your husband approaches, his robes rustling like bamboo leaves in the breeze. He offers silence, a bowed head, and a single red candle carved with phoenix motifs. The flames dance against the walls, illuminating the carved figures of kneeling ancestors in the lacquered panels. You feel their eyes upon you, patriarch Yu who tamed floods, Queen Fu who brought rain to the fields, and you sense the weight of their judgment. They expect you to uphold filial piety, to bear sons, to maintain the lineage without complaint. He sets the candle aside and lifts the hem of your phoenix robe. The silk slips down, revealing your hanfu beneath. Your arms feel feather light, your pulse a steady drumbeat as you gaze into his eyes. In that silent communion, you recognize that though customs vary, the clay tokens of Sumer, the wine of Greece, the silk of Han, the quiet tragedy remains. A woman's first union is never hers alone. It belongs to her family, her husband's ambitions, the gods who govern fertility and fate. As his hand finds yours, you close your eyes and let the hush envelop you, the jasmine breeze, the lantern glow, the echo of your own heartbeat. You are both vessel and voice, fragile and unwavering, and when the moment comes, you surrender not simply to flesh, but to the tide of history that has carried women like you across deserts, through marble halls, under golden pavilions. You give yourself to the ritual, to the promise of children, to the contracts etched into clay and paper and silk. Yet even as your body yields, your spirit remains unbroken, for within that yielding lies the seed of resilience, the knowledge that though your innocence is offered away, your identity endures in memory, in the names you will one day whisper to your daughters. Carry that truth as you breathe through the hush of night, dear one, and let your soul drift where the jasmine wind beckons to worlds both lost and reborn. As the velvety hush of midnight settles around you, let the soft susurrus of distant wind through palm fronds lull your senses. Close your eyes and breathe deeply, inhaling the subtle sweetness of lotus petals drifting on warm air. Imagine yourself as a young noblewoman in ancient Egypt, gliding barefoot across polished limestone floors warmed by hidden hearths. Your reflection shimmers in bronze mirrors bordered by hieroglyphs, symbols of life, Ankh, of eternity, Jijed, and of your own fragile promise, the knot of Isis. Tonight, in the gentle glow of oil lamps scented with papyrus and cedar, you will cross the threshold from girlhood to the sacred domain of wifehood, an act bound by tradition, expectation, and the silent watch of deities who weigh purity on celestial scales. In the grand hall of your father's house, the flicker of torchlight reveals painted columns depicting Ramesses' triumphs, but here you stand beneath murals of Hathor, goddess of love and protector of women in childbirth. Before you, an altar draped in alabaster bowls holds offerings, pomegranates for fertility, frankincense for clarity, and a single lotus blossom for rebirth. Your mother, clad in linen so fine it seems spun from water, places a garland of blue lotus around your throat. Its petals brush your collarbone with cool softness, an echo of innocence soon to slip away. The scent is both heady and bittersweet, like a memory you cannot yet name. You step forwards as a priestess intones blessings to Isis and Nephthys, Every syllable vibrates through the air, settling into the folds of your tunic, pressing gently against your breast. When the final chant fades, the hush is absolute. The corridors beyond recede into silence. You are alone, save for the matron who guides you by the elbow into a secluded chamber behind heavy cedar doors. The room is low-ceilinged, its walls painted in serene blues and greens, scenes of the Nile's life-giving flow. A silken bed is draped in white linen, its surface cooled by river breezes funneled through lattice windows. You sit upon its edge, heart hammering, and let the soft rustle of papyrus reeds outside remind you that life moves on beyond this moment. The matron adjusts the gold diadem in your hair, compressing your braid into a crown of discipline and expectation. "Remember, child," she whispers, "the pharaoh's peace depends on our lineage." Her words are gentle, but the weight behind them presses on your chest. When your father's chosen husband appears, a man of distant civility, his kilt wrapped perfectly at the hips, you feel his gaze as both promise and judgment. He holds a shallow bowl of honey wine, its sweetness bright against the rich aroma of myrrh hanging in the air. He offers you the cup. In Egypt, to share this libation is to seal a bond witnessed by gods and scribes alike. You lift the cup in trembling hands, lips brushing its rim. The honey's warmth floods your tongue, and for a breath you taste the possibility of tenderness. But as you drink, you know this sweetness is fleeting, and what follows will bind you not to a man's heart alone, but to a destiny carved in stone. Feel the chill of marble beneath your feet as you enter the atrium of a Roman domus, torchlight dancing against mosaic floors that glitter with scenes of Neptune and Venus entwined. You are a patrician maiden of Rome, the filia of an influential senator. Tonight, you stand upon the threshold of your wedding chamber, where history's weight mingles with personal trepidation. Your flammeum, an orange-red veil worn since dawn, hides the flush on your cheeks and seals your face from curious eyes. Underneath, your hair is bound in the ritual sex crines, parted by a spear-like comb that once belonged to your ancestors. Near the hearth, an incense brazier sends vines of frankincense spiraling upward, curling like ethereal serpents. You notice the faint clink of sacrificial bowls as your mother pours libations to Vesta, calling for the sacred flame to protect your new hearth. The room smells of oil, wax, and olive wood. Each scent tangles in your throat, constricting until you feel as though you inhale the collective anxiety of every Roman bride before you. Your husband, dressed in a simple tunica recta, bows with solemn courtesy. He extends a hand, and you step forward, guided less by affection than by profound obligation. In Rome, virginity is a legal status as much as a personal one. Your intact hymen on this night will secure your family's honor and cement alliances bigger than any Senate decree. His hand brushes yours, brief and perfunctory, like a greeting among co-conspirators. You clutch his wrist, not in tenderness, but as proof that you will not slip away into the night's uncertainty alone. As you slip beneath the bedclothes, linen woven so finely it feels like mist, you think of Livia Drusilla, who navigated power behind the scenes, her own body a pawn in Augustus's dynastic game. You recall whispers of Vestal virgins whose chastity was a civic shield against disaster, and you recognize that tonight, your body too becomes a shield of lineage, of property, of dynastic promise. He lies beside you with an almost reverent hesitancy, the flickering torchlight painting gold halos on his brow. In the hush before action, you hear the distant clamor of the Forum, the echo of chariot wheels on stone, society's heartbeat thriving beyond these chambers. Your pulse synchronizes with that rhythm as he places his palm upon your thigh, fingers tracing gentle circles. The sensation is at once miraculous and terrifying, as though you're being initiated not simply into matrimony, but into the weight of empire itself. And in that trembling pause, before anything else occurs, you sense that tonight's ritual will mark not only the breaking of your innocence, but the beginning of a journey where your value becomes bound by heirs and alliances rather than by your own desires. Beneath the canopy of stalwart ceiba trees, your Maya home's earthen floor is strewn with petals of marigold, the flower of sun and life. You are the daughter of a noble house in Tikal, and the rain drums against the thatched roof with the distant promise of a coming storm. Tonight, your world is defined by incense coils and chanting priests, by the chiseled stone of the plaza altars and the hush of the jungle night beyond. In the sacred vestibule, red and black pigments mark your arms and face, symbols of life and death, of your transition from maiden to matron in the eyes of the moon goddess. Your husband-to-be, clad in jaguar skin breechcloth and jade pectoral, stands across a carpet of woven mats. The high priest recites ancient glyphs, each syllable striking the air like a bird's call at dawn. You kneel and anoint each other's foreheads with maize paste, a blessing for fertility and abundance. When the rite concludes, you enter the pelvic chamber, a simple bark-paneled room lit by torches and scented with the wood smoke of copal. The bed is a slatted wooden frame strewn with fresh palm fronds. You settle upon its cool weave and feel the tickle of frond tips against your calves. Your husband kneels, placing a wreath of ceiba blossoms upon your hair, each petal a prayer for healthy sons. His fingers brush your neck and you shiver as the flowers drop petals onto your shoulders. Tiny, soft confessions of fear and hope. Their gods demand progeny, and in Maya law, a childless marriage can be annulled by the council of elders. The thought coils in your belly like a serpent. To fail in this rite is to face exile or worse. Yet as he draws you close, you feel the jungle breeze stir through the open window, carrying lianas and the calls of nocturnal life. In that breath, you glimpse the wild resilience that courses through your veins, as ancient and unpredictable as the rain. And you understand that, though this night binds you to duty, it also plants within you a seed, an ember of resistance awaiting the right storm to bloom. Feel the lacquered reflection of moonlight upon silk as you stand before the bridal pavilion in ancient India. You are the daughter of a Raja in the Nalanda kingdom, and the marble pathways around you are cooled by evening dew. In the courtyard, the scent of jasmine garlands mingles with sandalwood smoke rising from clay lamps. Your sari is draped in crimson and gold, the colors of hearthfire and auspicious beginnings. Around your neck, a chain of turmeric beads pulses warmly against your skin, a protective amulet blessed by Brahmin priests. Your groom, a prince of a neighboring realm, approaches with steady grace. He brings with him the Mangal Sutra, 2 strands of black and gold threaded with sacred mantras. When he fastens it around your throat, you feel it settle against your collarbone like a talisman. In this moment, your virginity becomes not just a personal state, but a covenant witnessed by the gods of wind, fire, and earth. As night deepens, you and your husband are escorted to the inner chambers by torchbearers and veiled dancers, their silhouettes wavering against the terraced walls. Within, you find a low wooden bed carved with lotus petals. The air is perfumed with rose and cardamom, and a small lotus pool beside the bed reflects the star-studded sky above. You sink onto silk cushions, the fabric cool against your legs. Your heart thrums with both trepidation and curiosity. Curiosity about the stranger whose hand will soon press against your thigh, whose lips may brush your nape. He kneels before you and offers a cup of sweetened buttermilk, thick with saffron. You raise it to your lips, feeling the creamy warmth spread through your chest. This communal drink is more than refreshment. It is a libation to Soma, the elixir of immortality, granting you entry into the lineage of women who have carried sons on their hips and prayers on their tongues. When he finally draws close, his fingers trailing along the edge of your sari, you close your eyes and let the night's hush enfold you. In that darkness, your world narrows to the curve of his hand and the pulse beneath your ribs, a tender prelude to the rite that will bind your bodies, your families, and your souls together. Let these whispered stories of Nile courtyards and marble atria, of jungle temples and marble pavilions, carry you through the velvet veil of sleep. Remember the women who walked before you, their fears tethered to custom, their hopes intertwined with duty, their voices now echoing in the silent corridors of history. And as you drift beyond this world, know that your own story too will linger like a distant flame against the dark, a promise of resilience that no ritual can extinguish. As the soft breath of evening drifts through your window, carrying the scent of distant spices and cooling earth, close your eyes and let your mind wander beyond the bounds of your room. Feel the steady rhythm of your heartbeat slow, matching the pulse of centuries that have long since passed. Tonight, you will walk in the footsteps of women whose names have been lost to time. In the ancient cities of the Indus Valley, beneath the misty forests of Celtic Gaul, atop the sun-baked plazas of Tenochtitlan, and upon the windswept shores of Polynesia. Each story is a lantern flame in the deep night, illuminating the fragile promise and hidden sorrow of a girl becoming woman in worlds both strange and wondrous. Indus Valley, circa 2500 BCE, you stand within the neatly ordered streets of Mohenjo-Daro, where baked brick houses rise 2 stories high, their flat roofs stenciled with geometric patterns. Cool fresh water flows through the city's great drains, bathing your feet as you walk toward the private bathhouse stacked with terracotta vessels. Your hair, long and bound with scented oils, hangs in a single plait, the mark of a maiden unclaimed. Tonight, under the faint glow of an oil lamp carved from soapstone, you will be offered in marriage for reasons as inscrutable as the stamps upon the seals that secure your family's granaries. Your father's chosen groom is a merchant from distant Lothal, a man of quiet dignity who deals in carnelian beads and copper ingots. In his presence, your pulse hammers against your ribs as though trying to break free. An elder woman guides you to the tiled bench where you must remove your anklets, silver rattles that have tumbled down your ankles since childhood. The clang of their bells has been your companion in every dance, every song, every afternoon of careless laughter. As you slip them off, each ringing echo feels like an echo of your own undoing. A small group gathers, your mother, her eyes bright but sorrowful, the matron-in-waiting whose faded tattoo marks her earlier passage, and a scribe who records the union with an undyed clay tablet. No priest stands to bless you here, only the silent approval of the city's orderly grid, the resolute harshness of brick, and the hum of flies that circle the grain-filled bins. When at last the groom presses a string of carnelian around your neck, you feel the heavy beads settle against your collarbone, a necklace that will outlast your own skin. He offers you a rubbing of ochre upon your palms, an emblem of union, then retreats, leaving you alone to unweave the tight pleats of your skirt and fold away the patterns of your girlhood. The cool stone under your back is a harsh cradle, yet in that stark stillness, you recall the laughter you once shared with sisters in the courtyard, the communal spinning of cotton threads in the sun. You wonder if those moments will dissolve. Like footprints in sand, once morning's light finds you reborn by contract rather than by choice. Celtic Gaul, circa 200 BCE, now drift northward, past dense woodlands and rolling hills cloaked in mist, to a wooden longhouse by the banks of the Loire. Here you are, the daughter of a druid, your life woven into the green heart of the forest. Your hair is braided with sprigs of tawny heather, your body painted with swirling white clay that marks your virgin state. Tonight, beneath the watchful gaze of oak and yew, you will undergo the rite of hand-fasting, both binding your fate to a warrior merchant son and symbolically severing you from your natal clan. The hearth's red embers crackle, sending sparks skyward through the open smoke hole. Your mother and aunt circle you, weaving ribbons of dyed wool and shades of marigold and sage through your hair. Their voices rise in a lamenting melody, falling and rising like the wind in branches. They sing of Bridget, flame-haired goddess of hearth and fertility, invoking her warmth to guide you in the cold dawn that follows your wedding night. Your betrothed, a young man with copper curls and eyes like storm-loomed water, steps forward bearing 2 torques, one of plain bronze for you to wear now, and another of gilded iron he will don later. He clasps the necklace of bronze around your throat, its weight a constant reminder of the pact you have not chosen but must honor. The knot of the woolen ribbons in your hair is secured with a sprig of rowan, thought to ward off unseen perils. Yet as the knot tightens, so does the coil of dread within your chest. He offers you mead, stained with saffron, its golden hue catching the firelight. You sip it slowly, tasting the sweetness of barley and honey, the tang of the forest's wildflowers. For a moment, you imagine that sweetness might flow through your veins like courage, but the mead's warmth only intensifies the hollow echo of your own pulse. When he draws you into the central chamber, where the bed is strewn with fresh ferns and the moonlight filters through carved panels, you feel the breath of ancestors in every flicker of shadow. In that hush, your mind drifts to the daughters of your people who are offered as hostages or pledges of peace, heroines who found in foreign courts both peril and purpose. You recall tales of the warrior Queen Boudica's mother, taken as a political pawn yet shaping her daughter's fierce destiny. You wonder if your own blood will yield resistance in the generations to come, or if your name too will vanish beneath foreign banners. Aztec Tenochtitlan, circa 1500 CE. Now lift your spirit even higher, above the lacustrine twin temples of Tenochtitlan, where polished stones gleam like mirrors beneath a sun that never tires. You are the chosen daughter of a noble Kalpuli, destined to marry a rising eagle warrior whose name is inscribed in the codices. Your hair is scented with copal smoke, your skin painted with the red ochre of Xochiquetzal, patroness of fertility. Tonight, you will ascend the temple stair to the chamber known as the House of Passing, the threshold between maidenhood and motherhood. The drums of the temple pulsing below are like the heartbeat of the earth itself. You stand at the summit, robe of feather-woven cloth trailing behind you, each step measured upon the obsidian inlaid steps. Beneath you lie thousands of souls who have come to celebrate this sacred union. Above, the sky opens wide as if to swallow you into its blazing heart. The high priest of the sun stands before an altar of blood-red flowers and gold, chanting in Nahuatl an invocation of renewal and sacrifice. He sprinkles petal dust upon your shoulders, each grain a divine benediction, and murmurs the ancient words, "You become one with the earth, one with the sky." Then the warrior steps forward, his armor resplendent, his eyes alight with both reverence and expectation. He clasps your hands and places a gold pectoral upon your chest, the emblem of his house, binding his life to yours in a pact woven from prayer and duty. In the private pavilion, cooled by the spray of nearby canals, your pride music bards have draped the bed in woven mats and embroidered textiles. You recline beneath tapestries of hummingbirds and jaguars, a fleeting reminder of the freedom your youth once held. As the warrior kneels, his fingers teasing the fringe of your huepo, you feel the weight of countless goddesses who presided over marriage and childbirth, Chalcutlicu, Tochi, and the ghost-white fertility stones laid at the feet of women who never bore children. Each name lingers on your tongue like a half-spoken prayer for mercy. His touch, at first a feather's brush, deepens with the insistence of ceremony. You close your eyes against the torchlight's fierce glow, trying to anchor yourself in the rhythm of your breath. Yet even as flesh meets flesh, you sense the hollow echo of your father's treaty. Land in exchange for service, daughters in exchange for loyalty. You are both princess and tribute, privy to privilege, yet bound in invisible shackles more enduring than any chain. Polynesian archipelago circa 1200 CE. Finally, drift beyond the oceans to the edge of the known world, where the coral atolls rise from the turquoise vastness like green jewels. You are a young woman of chiefly blood on the island of Moorea, your skin glistening with coconut oil, your hair crowned with frangipani blossoms. Tonight, under a roof woven of pandanus mats, you will share the bed of the visiting chief from Raiatea, cementing an alliance that spans thousands of miles of ocean. The floor is strewn with ti leaves, their glossy fronds cool beneath your feet. Your grandmother, a wise elder versed in the lore of the stars, places upon your brow a single strand of red feathers from the iwi bird, an omen of both beauty and sacrifice. She whispers of Hina, the moon goddess whose cycles govern woman's body, and Kaupuohi, whose daughters weave destinies born of waves and wind. You sit cross-legged upon a woven mat, your gaze fixed upon the open sea visible through the Senate doors. Torches gutter in the night breeze, sending shadows of crouching tiki gods flickering across the walls. The guest chief stands at the entrance, his plaited hair bound with shark-tooth ornaments, his chest bare save for a lei of kukoi nuts. He bows, in almost reverent motion, and extends a bowl of awa root mixed with water. The awa's bitter tang bites at your tongue, loosening the tight knot of dread in your throat. As you drink, you feel your heart lighten, your limbs soften with the plant's slow magic. Then the chief steps aside, beckoning you to follow him onto the bed strewn with the soft fronds of pandanus. Beneath you, the fronds rustle like whispers of ancestors, voyagers who crossed endless seas by the guidance of stars. He leans close, his breath carrying the salt of ocean breezes, and in his eyes you glimpse both tenderness and the unyielding pull of duty. When your bodies join, it is neither violent nor tender, but something sacred and strange. An echo of the pulsing reefs below, a promise written in the language of coral and wave. You think of the generations of women who have lain here before you, their voices carried away on the wind, their stories scattered like shells upon the shore. And you know that though your body yields to ritual, your spirit remains tethered to the vastness of horizon and sky. Let these tales cradle you now, as you drift between worlds of brick and wood, of feather and flame. Remember the laughter you once carried, the songs you once sang. Hold fast to the knowledge that even when the bonds of custom bind you, the heart of every woman endures, a hidden ember of hope glowing softly beneath the tides of history. And as sleep finds you, may your dreams carry you on wings of starlight across oceans of memory, to a dawn yet unimaginable, where the names of forgotten daughters gleam like constellations in the night. As the night deepens and the world outside your window grows still, feel the slow drift of your breath, in and out, like the tides pulling at distant shores. Let the hush cradle you as you step once more into the road of moonlit memories, to meet women whose first night of union was a portal into destiny, far beyond the borders of Sumer and Rome, Egypt and Maya. Tonight, you cross thresholds in lands of empire and wilderness alike, each story a testament to the quiet endurance of those whose names the winds have carried away. Achaemenid Persia, circa 500 BCE. You stand on the marble terrace of your husband's palace in Susa, the pale moon casting silver paths across the reflecting pool below. You are the daughter of a noble from Pasargadae, your long hair bound with ribbons of purple, royal dye woven from the murex snail. Tonight, you will be led to the inner harem, a world both resplendent and confining, where your body becomes both treasure and tribute to the great king. Behind you, the call of the night watch echoes against carved columns of black basalt. The scent of burning cedar drifts from the ziggurat-styled hearths, mingling with the perfume of musk brought from far-off Assam. Your mother-in-law, draped in robes of gold brocade, guides you through a labyrinth of corridors, each arch decorated with reliefs of winged bulls symbolizing divine protection. Her eyes, dark as onyx, reflect both welcome and warning. "Remember, daughter," she intones, "you are now bound to Persia's destiny." In the inner chamber, cushions of sapphire blue silk lie upon the marble floor. A low basin of water, scented with rose and myrtle, shimmers in the torchlight. You step forward and slip your sandals from your feet, feeling the cool stone beneath your soles. The vizier's daughter, who married a satrap years ago, stands beside a brazier filled with frankincense and myrrh. She offers you a goblet of diluted wine, spiced with cardamom and saffron. As you drink, its warmth flows through you like liquid gold, and for a moment, you imagine that warmth might soften the weight of what is to come. Then your husband, a slim figure in a linen tunic embroidered with turquoise, appears at the chamber's threshold. He offers no words, only a bow, a silent recognition of the rights both of marriage and of the court. He steps forward, placing his hand at your elbow, guiding you to the cushions. You sit together, side by side, the soft scrape of silk marking your proximity. In Persia, your virginity is a pearl, valued, protected, and demanded as proof of your lineage's purity. Your body is the hinge upon which alliance swings, moving the fortunes of cities and kings. He reaches for your hair, smoothing the tangled ribbons, and the scent of your own oil mingles with the incense. His touch is careful, almost reverent, yet you feel the hush of expectation settle over you like a heavy shawl. Beneath the gilt ceiling, your breath slows, and you recall the women of the palace who came before. The sister of Cyrus, who bore the first heir, the concubine who rose to power only to vanish in a whisper of intrigue. Their fates swirl around you, unseen currents under the marble floor. As he leans in, the rustle of his breath against your ear is both comfort and admonition. In this palace, to fail the king's line could mean banishment or worse. Yet in that hush, you find a fragment of quiet courage, an ember that remembers your life before Persia's golden chains. You close your eyes and let the torchlight flicker upon your lids, carrying you into a night where empire and intimacy entwine. Mycenaean Greece, circa 1400 BCE. Imagine yourself now in the labyrinthine citadel of Mycenae, its cyclopean walls rising against a star-filled sky. You are the daughter of a Wanax's vassal, your linen robe dyed with safflower, its crimson staining your skin with promise and fear. Tonight, you will join a young warrior of the Wanax's guard in a chamber built of stone and shadow. The air is thick with the smoke of burnt offerings, barley cakes and honey laid upon an altar of polished rock. A priestess in a gown of ochre stands beside you, her lips moving in an incantation to Demeter and Persephone, goddesses of the earth's fertility. Her chant is low, almost sibilant, weaving through the cool air like wind through reeds. Your groom appears in bronze greaves, his sword at his side, a symbol of his duty to protect the Wanax's realm. He offers you a garland of ivy and olive leaves, placing each sprig with solemn ritual. You feel its prickly coolness at your hairline, a crown both wild and formal. In Mycenaean law, as in the later Homeric epics, a woman's first union is both celebration and sacrifice. Her body, the vessel through which the lineage flows. He takes your hand and leads you to a low stone platform, draped with a goatskin pelt. The priestess hands you a cup of barley wine, its strength fierce as a warrior's oath. You sip and feel the fierce warmth spread, awakening nerves you did not know lay dormant. His hand steadies yours, and for a moment you see his eyes, young, determined, perhaps fearful of this rite as you are. Then you yield to the ritual's motion, the weaving of arms, the closeness of breath, the brush of flesh against flesh. Beyond the chamber's entrance, the distant howl of jackals echoes against the Cyclades. Inside, time bends, each heartbeat stretched to an eternity of initiation. You feel yourself crossing from maidenhood to matronship, your identity reshaped by each breath, each pulse of the warrior's arms around you. When morning's first light filters through a narrow window, you wake upon the pelt, the warrior gone to his post, leaving you to gather yourself from the folds of hide and stone. You rise, touching the faint bruise of ivory beads he wove into your hair. In that trace of him, you sense the memory that will outlive the citadel's stones long after your name is faded. Nok culture, West Africa, circa 500 BCE, drift now across the desert's edge to the wooded savanna of West Africa, where clay figurines stand sentinel over forest glades. You are a maiden among the Nok people, your body painted with red ochre and kaolin in swirling patterns that echo the carved terracottas of your ancestors. Tonight, you will unite with the hunter prince of your clan under the dappled moonlight of the forest canopy. The village's wooden huts circle a communal fire pit, where elders weave tales of Nok's genesis, of masks born from Earth's heart, and of women who bore children to carry the clay's secrets forward. Your mother adorns you with beads of carnelian and jasper, each bead a prayer for safe passage into motherhood. The beads clink softly against your chest as you move, each note a heartbeat of memory and hope. Your groom emerges from the shadows, his frame silhouetted against the fire's glow. He carries a wooden bowl of fermented palm wine, offering you the cup with a respectful bow. When you drink, the earthy sweetness spreads through your limbs, loosening the knot of dread within your ribs. The firelight dances across his carved mask, handed down by his father, symbolizing the spirits of the hunt and the forest's fierce bounty. He guides you by the hand to a woven mat beneath a great iroko tree. The roots arch like hands around the clearing, and above, the canopy rustles with unseen life. Together you step upon the mat, your feet brushing the carved glyphs etched into the wood, symbols of fertility, renewal, and the unbroken cycle of life. In Nok tradition, the union is simple yet profound. No priest intervenes, no elaborate temple exists, only the shapes of the ancestors whispering from the terracotta fragments scattered in the clay beneath your mat. You feel the earth's pulse hum through the roots into your spine as he draws you close. His touch is gentle, respectful of the patterns painted upon your arms. In the hush, you meld body and spirit, a living bridge between the clay's past and the people's future. Aboriginal Australia, circa 3000 BCE to present. Finally drift to the red plains and ochre-streaked gorges of the Dreamtime, where your people walk the song lines that map the earth's bones. You are a young Initian of a desert clan, your skin painted in white and yellow ochre, concentric circles marking your journey from girlhood to womanhood. Tonight, you will join your brother-in-law under the flaring gaze of ancestral stars. The fire pit crackles with dry spinifex, sending sparks skyward to mingle with the Milky Way's river of light. The elders chant the Creator's stories, each name of rock and river invoked in rhythmic call and response. Your grandmother, the story keeper, places a wreath of eucalyptus leaves upon your head, the oil's scent sharp and revitalizing. She whispers, "Let your footsteps follow the tracks of your mother's mother." Your partner emerges, his spear at his side, decorated with kangaroo sinew and emu feathers. He offers you a small bowl of dangku, a fermented fruit brew, and you sip deeply, feeling the desert's heat cool within your veins. When he takes your hand, you sense the song lines threading through your clasped fingers, paths of creation sung before time began. There is no bed here, only the earth's warm surface and the sky's endless expanse. You step onto the bare ground, feeling the grainy sand between your toes, and he draws you close. Under the canopy of stars, your bodies join in a slow, sacred dance, a communion with the land itself. Each breath, each pause is an echo of the dreamtime voices that name the rivers and carve the canyons. When the dawn's first light reddens the horizon, you lie upon the earth as a new woman, your footprints etched in sand and memory. You rise at first light to continue the song lines on your own feet, carrying both the bond of blood and the promise of the land's wisdom. Rest now, dear one, as your mind drifts through these moonlit portals of time and place. Remember the women who walked before you, Persian noble women whose silken chambers sheltered both power and exile, Mycenaean maidens whose bodies bore the weight of war-born lineage, Nok daughters whose clay ancestors watched over forest rites, and desert-born daughters of the dreamtime who carried creation songs in their souls. Let their footsteps in the dust guide you into sleep, and know that within you burns the same quiet ember of resilience, a flame that no contract, no ritual, and no night can ever fully extinguish. As twilight's final hush settles over the villa, feel the soft hush of your breath slow, matching the gentle pulse of distant oil lamps, feebly sputtering their last light across marble corridors. Close your eyes, dear one, and let the faint scent of olive oil and myrtle drift beneath your nostrils, lulling you toward a world that is at once intimate and inscrutable. Tonight, you will walk through the silken darkness of a Roman marriage chamber, where power and ritual entwine beneath the same crimson canopy that binds you to a husband whose authority eclipses your own. You are the Philia of a senatorial house, your pedigree traced in wax seals and legal scrolls resting in your father's study. From infancy, your status has been measured in dowry and alliance, a ledger of land, slaves, and golden coins promising social ascent when pledged to another's name. Now, at the cusp of womanhood, you stand in the inner atrium, robed in tunica recta of unblemished white, the embroidered purple stripe along your hem a reminder of both purity and rank. Around you, female relatives murmur solemn benedictions, their voices as smooth as polished stone, echoing off painted walls that depict Juno's watchful gaze. You do not see their lips move, you feel their expectations pressing against your ribs. The matron who guides you holds the flammeum, a flame-colored bridal veil that will seal your fate. It shimmers like molten copper, its folds able to conceal your gaze and amplify your silence. She drapes it across your head, and instantly the world outside narrows to a dim tunnel of red silk. Within this fire-hued veil, you are hidden and yet exposed, a cipher in a game of social power, where only one participant truly holds the rules, your husband. Allow the hush to deepen as you are led through columns fragrant with burning incense. Each step is polished marble beneath sandal leather, a reminder that your path has been paved by contracts written years before you understood their consequence. Historians debate how much agency a Roman bride possessed once the madness of her husband claimed her. From your perspective, it feels as though a veil of cold authority was drawn across your destiny the moment you first learned your name. You cross the threshold into the cubiculum, your wedding chamber, where a low couch draped in crimson and ivory stands beneath a canopy of silken drapes. The air here is thick with the perfume of rose petals strewn at your feet, and the subtle musk of human expectation. A single oil lamp balanced on a nearby stand casts flickering shadows that dance against the walls, like silent witnesses to what must come. The lamp's flame quivers as though uncertain, mimicking the tremor in your own chest. Your husband stands in the soft glow, robed in a simple tunic yet crowned by the weight of social supremacy. He is a man you have observed only in formal gatherings, his laughter measured, his glance appraising, his presence a reminder of how contracts eclipse affection in this union. In this moment, you are aware of every nuance of posture and gaze. His stance speaks of confidence earned through years of privilege, while your own stance is one of tentative balance, as though a single misstep could unspool the tapestry of your new identity. He bows, a brief, courteous acknowledgement of your presence. You echo the gesture, mindful of the lessons imparted by your matrons. Hold your chin high, speak only when spoken to. Let your silence speak volumes. In the hush that follows, you notice how your eyelashes flicker like dark petals, how your pulse thrums against the corset of expectation. In Rome, a husband's power in bed was underwritten by both law and custom. He held the right to initiate the consummation, to claim the bond that made marriage both a legal and physical union. Your consent, though expected, is itself a silent echo, present but unheard. Imagine now the soft brush of his hand as he extends it to you, inviting you to approach the couch. The gesture is polite, almost tender, yet in its courtesy lies the undeniable assertion of his prerogative. He is the paterfamilias in miniature here, commanding the rights that will transform your white-clad self into matrona, mother of heirs. You step forward, each movement deliberate, rehearsed through years of instruction in discipline and grace. When your sandaled foot touches the velvet coverlet, you feel the plush fibers yield beneath you, a simile for how your own trepidation yields to the gravity of what must unfold. He seats himself first, as tradition dictates, and then you settle beside him. The couch creaks softly under your combined weight, an almost audible confirmation of the new domestic unit you represent. In this intimate proximity, the lamp's flame becomes a spotlight, illuminating the subtle contours of his face and the soft planes of yours. You sense 1,000 unspoken rules humming between you, regulations of posture, of speech, of touch, that dictate how a wife may offer herself and how a husband may claim her. Historians still debate whether women in ancient Rome could refuse their husbands' advances. The evidence is ambiguous, voiced only in the hushed footnotes of legal texts that favor male prerogative. From your vantage, consent is a fragile illusion. The nod of your head, the lowering of your eyes, the gentle parting of your lips, all rehearsed signs in a silent symphony that signals your compliance. Yet within that choreography lies the quiet tragedy of lost identity. You are no longer solely you, but an extension of your husband's lineage, a vessel for heirs whose names will outlive your own. Allow your senses to absorb the room's details. The couch's cushions are embroidered with laurel wreaths, symbols of victory and honor, traits Roman men prized in both war and bedchamber. The tapestries depict scenes of Venus and Mars, goddess of beauty surrendering to god of war, a subtle allegory for the male-dominated hierarchy that pervades both the battlefield and the bridal bed. You feel the tapestry's fabric under your fingertips as you reach to steady yourself, its threads whispering tales of power claimed and submission mandated. Your husband reaches for the edge of your veil, lifting it slightly so his eyes may meet yours. The red silk parts under his fingers, revealing the pale curve of your cheek, a vulnerable surface upon which he may trace his mark. His gaze lingers, not with lust, but with the certainty of prerogative, his right to consummate this union and thereby claim the legitimacy of any offspring you may bear. In his eyes you glimpse both anticipation and the stoic acceptance of custom. In these moments, a social contract and a physical one blur into one seamless rite. Arouse your memory of the rituals that led you here, the removal of childhood tokens at the lararium, the donning of the tunica recta, the parting of your hair into the sex crines. Each act symbolized an unwinding of childlike freedom and a rewinding into the controlled framework of marital duty. This final rite in the bedchamber is the apex and the nadir of that transformation. Once enacted, it cannot be undone. You are no longer daughter or sister, but the wife whose body fulfills not only personal longing, but the legal requirements of patria potestas. Now, feel the gentlest of touches as his hand brushes against your shoulder. The sensation is a whisper upon skin, a mixture of warmth and unspoken command. You realize that in this moment, your body is both temple and battlefield, its sanctity championed in public rhetoric, yet its agency surrendered in private ceremony. His palm slides lower, pressing against the fabric that shields your flesh. You hold your breath, aware that your heartbeat may betray the tremor in your voice. Inhale the scent of rose petals crushed beneath his fingers as he draws you closer. The perfume is rich and heady, an intoxicating reminder that beauty and subjugation bloom side by side. You feel the velvet of the couch cushion beneath your thigh, the sharp contrast of silk against skin as his fingers loosen the folds of your tunica. There is no haste here, only the precise, practiced movements of a ritual performed countless times across stately villas and humble domus alike. As the layers fall away, exposing the curve of your body to candlelight, You sense the hush deepen around you. In this sanctified space, every inhalation resonates with ancestral expectations, heirs to be born, alliances to be secured, family honor to be preserved. Your breath hitches as his gaze follows the lines of your form, as though reading a scroll inscribed with your worth. In Rome, a bride's virginity was a social currency, and the moment of its loss signified the final transfer of value from one household to another. Feel the soft weight of his hand as it brushes across your skin, mapping the territory of your shoulders, your back, your waist. Each caress is an assertion of authority, a reminder that your body now resides under his jurisdictio. Yet amidst this tidal flow of power, you detect a flicker of something else, a whisper of tenderness perhaps, or the eerie echo of your own suppressed desire. In that moment, your body becomes a contested site between societal decree and personal longing, between the bloodlines of father and husband, between the memory of freedom and the reality of subjugation. Your husband pauses, his breath warm against the nape of your neck. The candle's flame wavers, and for an instant you glimpse the reflection of diamond-shaped shadows dancing across the wall, shadows that might be interpreted as wings or shackles. You close your eyes, letting the warmth of his breath mingle with the memories of childhood games in your father's garden, of stolen afternoons reading poetry beneath the shade of cypress trees. Those memories flicker and fade as the ritual resumes, as though your past self retreats before the advancing tide of matrimony. When he finally claims you, it is with the same gravity as the signing of a treaty, a solemn, irrevocable act binding two houses, and it is here that the full weight of his power in bed becomes undeniable. Your body yields, you submit, you become the vessel through which his lineage continues. In that confluence of flesh and law, your own agency dissipates like mist at dawn, leaving behind a quiet ache that only you know. And when the rite concludes, you lie entwined beneath the crimson canopy, your body sated of ceremony but not of truth. You sense the residual press of his hand against your hip, the lingering warmth where his body pressed yours. The lamplight drips low, dropping pools of gold across the marble floor. Outside, the night's hush deepens. Within, a new hush settles, one born of shared breath and unspoken sorrow. Rest now in that silvered silence, dear one, and let the echoes of candles and contracts fade into the lull of your own heartbeat. Remember that though Roman husband and state claimed your body this night, within you remains the quiet spark of selfhood, an ember that, though buried beneath veils and vows, endures like a whisper against the grandest of laws. And as sleep draws near, carry that ember into dreams, where your story may yet be told beyond the canopies of power and tradition. You awaken before dawn, the first gray light slipping through the narrow slit of your window, casting pale stripes upon the silken sheets. Your body still echoes with the throbbing hush of last night's rite, its ritual consummation imprinted upon your skin like a branding. You lie for a moment, listening to the villa stir, the soft scrape of a slave sweeping marble, the distant tinkle of water in the impluvium, the low murmur of male voices debating politics beyond your chamber door. Here, in this fragile half-light, you taste both the residue of surrender and the faint tang of awakening, the realization that your role as wife extends far beyond one climactic night. At the edge of the bed, you rise gingerly, muscles stiff with unfamiliar use. You press your palm to the cool marble floor, feeling its solidity beneath your fingertips, a comfort against the lingering currents of unease. Last night, the flamium was lifted from your brow. Now you must don the daily veil of matronhood, a more subtle but no less binding mantle. In the adjoining wardrobe, your tunica recta hangs beside a tunica interior, dyed soft umber. You slip into the inner garment first, the linen whispering against your shoulders, then the tunica, fastening its clasps with careful hands. Each fold and pin is a reminder. You are now not simply yourself, but an extension of your husband's household, your father's lineage, and the city's unspoken expectations. When you emerge into the atrium, the household's center, you pause at the threshold. The sacred hearth smoke coils upward, carrying the honeyed scent of last evening's libations. The lares and penates gaze upon you in silent judgment from their niches, bronze statuettes glinting in the dawn. You bow your head in the morning salutation, Di ben fation, and feel the soft chorus of smoke respond, as though the gods themselves acknowledge your passage into this new life. Your husband awaits you by the table in the triclinium, draped in the toga virilis that marks his civic status. He sits upon a low couch, sipping undiluted wine from a silver kylix. When you approach, he inclines his head slightly, a gesture of recognition, and motions to the cushion beside him. You settle into place, the fabric of your tunica rustling softly. He offers you a cup of posca, the sour wine diluted with water, whose austerity matches the gravity of your discourse. You sip and feel the tang of fermented grape pull you back into the present, anchoring your mind in the routine of daily ritual. The din of the household rises around you. Children run through the peristyle with squeals of delight. Slaves carry trays of bread and olives, and the steward consults with his assistants on the distribution of grain. In this bustling tableau, your husband's summons is a pinpoint of authority. He lays down his cup and fixes you with a steady gaze. "My wife," he says, "we must attend the census this morn. The names of our household are to be registered, and I wish your presence beside me." His tone is neither brusque nor kindly. It simply is the voice of law incarnate. You rise, smoothing your gown as you step to his side, aware that every eye will follow your movements. In ancient Rome, a matrona's appearance at official functions signified both her husband's standing and her own subordination, yet it also offered fleeting moments of autonomy, the briefest ownership of public space, the chance to be seen as more than a silent vessel. You clasp your hands before you, drawing in a steady breath, and descend the stairs toward the forum. The journey takes you through the narrow streets, where a morning light filters through colonnades and the echo of merchants setting out their stalls drifts on the breeze. You walk beside your husband, his toga trailing behind him like a symbol of state, and feel the weight of the eyes that regard you. Some offer respectful nods, others whisper the latest rumors of Senate intrigue or gladiatorial games. For an instant, you imagine yourself invisible, a ghost drifting through the city's veins. Then you remember, even invisibility here is a kind of power, the subtle ability to observe without being fully acknowledged. At the forum's edge stands the census table, its wooden top smoothed by countless sharp styluses. Your husband greets the magistrate with formal deference, then turns to you. "Speak your full name, our names, and those of your birth household." You step forward, voice measured, recalling the lessons on diction taught by your grammaticus. "I am Aurelia Cornelia," you begin, "wife of Gaius Licinius, daughter of Marcus Pupius." Each word solidifies your dual identity, tethering you both to your natal family and to the household you now embody. The magistrate takes your names into his ledger, sealing your legal status beneath his ink-tainted fingers. As you step back, your husband lays a hand upon your elbow, leading you away from the public gaze. The transaction is brief, factual, yet its reverberations linger. You are recorded, a data point in Rome's great machinery, a name in an administrative scroll. This small act underscores how a wife's personhood is catalogued and contained by law, her identity acknowledged only in relation to male authority. You return home beneath the sun's rising arc, the villa's facade beckoning like a silent sentinel. Inside, the day's duties unfold, supervising the weaving of wool in the upper gallery, receiving petitions from distant relatives seeking aid, and offering counsel on managing the slaves' schedules. Each task is a performance of matronly virtue, an intricate dance between submission and stewardship. You guide your maidens through the carding of fleece, your voice soft yet firm. Keep your hand steady, the wool must lie true. Through such ministrations, you assert a form of power, the authority of domestic order, the capacity to shape the sure rhythms of daily life even under the overarching shadow of your husband's dominion. Yet in the lull between duties, you find small spaces for private defiance. In the garden, you pause beside the rose bushes and inhale the heady scent of blooms just opening to the sun. Last night's memory of rose petals strewn across the bed returns, but now you gather a single bloom, its velvet petals soft against your palm. You tuck it behind your ear, a gesture unbidden, unendorsed by custom, and feel the flicker of autonomy, a reminder that your body, though claimed in bedchamber ritual, remains yours to adorn. Later, in the quiet of your chamber, you slip beneath the sheets once more, not in preparation for ritual, but for the balm of rest. As twilight approaches, you light a small oil lamp beside your bed and uncork a flask of perfumed rose water. Sprinkling a few droplets onto your wrists and throat, you breathe deeply, letting the fragrance mingle with the faint ache of emptiness that clings to your bones. The perfume is both consoling and haunting, a physical echo of the power you lack in bed, yet a sensory assertion that your body remains a vessel of memory and longing beyond male prerogative. Your husband's footsteps echo in the corridor as he seeks you out for the evening repast. You rise to greet him, smoothing your gown and offering a polite nod. In that moment, you feel the full weight of your dual existence. In public, the matrona of a great household. In private, the wife whose body has been bound by law and custom. And yet between those definitions flickers the quiet spark of self, an ember of individuality that no ritual can fully extinguish. Rest now, dear one, as the lamp gutters low. Let the soft fragrance of roses guide you into dreams, where your voice may speak freely, where your body may wander fields unbound by legal scrolls, and as sleep enfolds you, carry within your heart the memory of that single bloom behind your ear, a silent testament to the enduring power of self, even in a world that granted husbands dominion in bed. You wake before the sun dips fully below the horizon, long before the household stirs, and in the hush of dawn you press your palms against the cool plaster of your chamber wall. The night's lingering ache still hums beneath your ribs, a muted reminder of the power he wielded so effortlessly. Yet dawn brings no comfort, only the knowledge that your body, claimed and measured, must now perform its next rite, bearing heirs. You dress in muted hues this morning, a tunica dyed in ash gray rather than pure white, its simplicity reflecting the subdued authority you cling to. In the mirror's burnished surface, you study your reflection, the faint lines at the corners of your eyes, the slight hollow of your cheeks. These are the marks of nights spent surrendering more than your flesh to tradition. You smooth the fabric across your shoulders, the linen's grain an echo of the woven confines around your life. Descending into the atrium, you find the household ablaze with activity, the matron of the kitchen barking orders, slaves hefting jars of olive oil, children chasing each other across the mosaics. Your husband stands at the foot of the stairs, conversing with a visiting dignitary. He turns at your approach, offering a courteous bow as though you are merely an ornament beside him. His eyes flick to your midsection, already whispering of the role you must play next. You feel the flicker of defiance. Though your body has been his to command, your mind remains untouched. Your first task this day is to meet with the midwife, an older woman whose hands have guided countless Roman wives into motherhood. She waits for you in a small chamber scented with rue and laurel, its walls draped in faded tapestries. You inhale the herbal aroma and steady your breathing. You will need every scrap of composure to navigate this next ceremony. The midwife smiles with kindly authority. "Come, child," she says, her voice as dry and reassuring as oak bark. She examines your face, your hands, and finally your womb, offering quiet counsel on diet and exercise, stirring warm barley broth, walking through cool gardens, resting on low cushions at midday. Her words are practical, but beneath them you sense social expectation. Rome's survival depends on your fertility, on your ability to translate contract into bloodline. You nod, memorizing each instruction, even as your heart clenches with the memory of the bridal couch. In that moment of consummation, his power was absolute. Now, the power to give life belongs equally to fate, to the gods, and to the hidden strength of your own body. You find small solace in that truth. No man, however powerful, can force seed to take root without the earth's consent. Later that day, you wander through the colonnaded garden alone, gathering sprigs of rue and mint. The jasmine has begun to wilt, petals falling like pale tears. You collect them in your tunic's fold, pressing them to your breast as though to shield your heart from sorrow. The wind carries a distant laugh, perhaps that of your husband's guests drinking reenacted toasts in the triclinium. You imagine them mocking your fragility. You imagine your own laugh, clear and defiant, rising above the marble. As afternoon light fades, you convene with the steward to oversee the weaving of new household veils. This task, undertaken by matronly hands, allows you a measured authority. You choose the thread's color, the border's pattern, the quality of the flax. You run your fingertips along the half-finished lace, the fine pattern a testament to women's labor that history seldom records. In the shuttle's rhythmic back and forth, you hear the silent echo of your own silent resilience. When evening arrives, you are summoned again to the cubiculum. The memory of last night's ritual washes over you like a cold wave. This time, though, the ceremony is tempered by the midwife's counsel. You must rest between acts, breathe deeply, and call upon Juno Lucina for safe passage. Yet the fundamental power dynamic remains unchanged. He will initiate, you will receive, and the state will record the fruit of your union. He awaits you in the chamber, draped upon the crimson couch. At his side lies a shallow bowl of perfumed oil, an offering to Venus Verticordia, goddess of chastity turned protector of virtue. He dips his fingers into the oil, then closes his eyes as though in prayer. You watch him, noting the way his strong jaw relaxes, the tension in his shoulders easing. In this brief moment of ritual solemnity, you glimpse the veneer of equity. The ritual appears to bind you both in sacred duty. But when he turns his gaze upon you, the ritual's pretense slips away and the reality returns. Here, in this bedchamber, he holds all authority. He approaches, and you raise your eyes to meet his. The oil's fragrance drifts between you, its sweetness a fleeting balm. His fingers brush the earlobe you wrought with laughter as a child. A different laugh now, one tinged with resignation. He smooths the hair at your temple, a gentler touch than fairness would dictate, and you lean into it. Despite everything, you find a spark of comfort in his intimacy, proof that even within power's strict hierarchy, tenderness may flourish. But tenderness does not alter custom. You settle upon the couch beside him, your tunica falling away like a silent admission. His hand, warm and certain, rests against your belly, the site of both your vulnerability and your secret power. Breathe, you remind yourself, as he guides you into the rhythm decreed by tradition. In each motion, you sense the long lineage of Roman wives before you, women whose names are lost, but whose wombs bore the very sinews of empire. When the rite is done, you lie entwined beneath the silken canopy. The oil lamp's glow bathes the chamber in trembling light. He drifts into slumber, his breath steady, and you remain awake, cataloging every sensation, the cool press of pillow against your back, the faint scent of oil in your hair, the ache deep in your belly that neither pleasure nor pain can soothe. You wonder if he, too, lies awake, haunted by the gravity of his privilege. But you do not ask. In this marriage, questions are the province of silence. In the middle of the night, you slip from the couch and gather your discarded garments. The flow of air through the open window carries the scent of olive boughs, of dew-soaked grass. You wrap yourself in a plain wool cloak and step into the corridor. Here, the villa lies dormant. Torches gutter in their brackets, the hearth fires burn low, and the only sound is your own heartbeat echoing through the marble halls. You make your way to the larium, the household shrine. Before the bronze figures of the lares, you lay a single jasmine bloom, stolen from yesterday's gathering, a small offering to your own sanctity. You murmur a prayer to Vesta and Phoenix, spirits of hearth and renewal, asking for strength to endure the rites yet to come. In this silent act, you reclaim a measure of agency. Though custom binds your body, your spirit remains free to seek solace in the unseen. At the shrine's base, you find a lead tablet scrawled with love-worn names, scribbles of past brides who left tokens of longing and despair. You trace one name, Aelia, daughter of a praetor, whose plea for mercy went unanswered centuries ago. Her faded letters resonate with your own unspoken cries. You place your jasmine atop her inscription, bridging past and present in a gesture of shared suffering and solidarity. When you return to your chamber, you slip beneath the cool sheets, each fold of linen a reminder of both your comfort and confinement. You lay upon your side facing the window, where the first hint of dawn will soon bleed into the sky. You close your eyes, allowing sleep to claim you, but you carry with you the memory of jasmine petals, the oil sweetness, and the sacred defiance of a quiet prayer. Rest now, dear one, as the villa breathes around you, and know that within the hush of night, you have planted a seed of resistance whose roots may one day shatter the marble pillars of custom. As the first pale fingers of dawn stretch across the marble floor, you awaken not to the thrill of new union, but to the soft ache that has settled like a familiar companion in your bones. You rise quietly from the crimson couch, its silken folds still imprinted with the memory of last night's ritual, and you move through the villa as though slipping between worlds. The hushed realm of night where power was claimed, and the waking world where you must reclaim yourself. Outside your chamber, the corridor is cool and shadowed, lit only by the faint glow of a single oil lamp whose flame shivers in the pre-dawn air. You pause at the threshold of the triclinium, where the morning meal will soon be laid out in silver and clay, the delicate scent of fresh bread and honey just beginning to stir. Yet you do not join the bustle today. Instead, You seek the solace of the peristyle garden, that secret refuge where fountains murmur and marble statues stand mute vigil. In the garden stillness, you unfasten the plain wool cloak you wrapped around yourself in the night and let it pool at your feet. The dew-kissed grass feels like cool silk beneath your bare soles. You wander between the statues, a veiled Vestal, a grieving Niobe, a stoic Livia Drusilla gazing into eternity. Each stone form reflects an aspect of your own journey, purity and sacrifice, sorrow and resilience, grace under the weight of history. You touch the marble skirt of the Vestal's gown and feel the faint echo of her vow, the goddess's flame tended unbroken through centuries of storms. In that touch, you find both comfort and a quiet challenge. If she could endure, so can you. Near the fountain's lip, you kneel and cup your hands to gather water, letting its chill seep into your skin. You lift your gaze to the sky, pale and promising, and whisper a vow of your own, to carry forward your identity beyond the rites that seek to define you. This garden, with its secret corners and living waters, becomes your altar of rebellion, a place where the rituals of the villa's men hold no dominion. When at last the sun peeks over the tiled rooftops, you return to your chamber and collect the tools of your clandestine craft. Beneath your pillow lies the worn wax tablet where you have recorded your thoughts in furtive strokes. Lines of poetry, reflections on lost innocence, names of forgotten wives whose stories you vowed to rescue from oblivion. You retrieve a new stylus of polished bone and set to your next entry, describing last night's ceremony not in the ornate language required by law, but in your own words, raw and unflinching. The flammium pressed like a furnace upon my mind. The couch creaked beneath our combined surrender. Yet in every tremor of his touch I felt the echo of 1,000 women before me, all bound by law, yet unbound in spirit. As the ink dries in the morning light, you seal the tablet in a leather satchel and hide it within the hollow of an olive, trunk in the atrium, where servants will see only a gnarled root. This small act of preservation, your own archive of self, becomes your shield against erasure. No husband's decree, no social custom can unwrite the words you have written beneath the flicker of a single lamp. The clatter of dishes draws you into the triclinium, where your husband presides over the morning meal. He sits upon his usual couch, toga draped with formal elegance, and he raises his cup as you enter. You accept the offering of honeyed wine with the grace expected of a matrona, but beneath your composed exterior, your thoughts drift to the tablet hidden in the atrium. Each sip you take is a toast not merely to alliance, but to agency reclaimed in stillness. The other women of the household gather at your side, your mother-in-law offering polite nods, your sister-in-law, whose eyes flicker with unspoken solidarity, the younger maidens who hang on your every gesture as though seeking instruction in the art of survival. You sense in their faces the same hunger you once felt, the hunger for words unsaid, for lives unbound by contract. You allow yourself a private smile. In this household, you have become more than a vessel. You have become a quiet beacon. Later that day, you convene the workshop of weavers once more. But now, in the embroidery of new ceremonial veils, you insist upon a subtle change. The border pattern you designed features intertwined olive branches and laurel leaves, rather than the customary single motif of Victor's wreath. To the casual glance, it may seem merely decorative. Yet to those who know, it speaks of shared strength, of victory not claimed by conquest but by connection. You teach the weavers the new pattern, guiding their hands with patient instruction, and you see in their faces the thrill of small rebellion woven thread by thread. As dusk falls, you attend the evening libations in the sacred shrine. The household gathers beneath oil lamp light to offer wine and incense to the lairs. This ritual again asserts male dominion over familial rights, yet you stand among the women, eyes lifted toward the flickering flame. You pour your libation with deliberate reverence, feeling the warmth of the offering as it slides over ancient bronze. In that moment, you address not only the spirits of home, but the spirits of every daughter who came before, and every daughter who will follow. Returning to your chamber, you pause at the threshold and remove the simple wreath of olive leaves you wear as matron. You lay it upon your writing desk beside the wax tablet, as though honoring both the roles you must play and the roles you choose to claim. You slip into your night tunic and lie upon the couch where so many rites have been enacted. As the oil lamp's flame guttered low, you reach for the jasmine bloom you pressed long ago, now faded but still fragrant, and place it on your pillow. You close your eyes, breathing in its sweetness, and let your mind drift upon the currents of memory and hope. You feel the marble beneath your fingertips, the echo of whispered poetry upon your tongue, the steady hum of your own heartbeat asserting itself against the tide of custom. In the gentle hush before sleep, you carry within you the stories of mothers and daughters, of wives who found solace in secret gardens, of vestals who guarded flames, of lines of olive and laurel intertwining in quiet defiance. And as sleep enfolds you, you see in the final flicker of the lamp the image of your own reflection in the bronze mirror, no longer merely bride or wife, but a woman who carries history in her bones and poetry in her blood. In that last lingering image, you know that though Roman husbands may hold all the power in bed, the true power resides in the stories we keep, the words we write, and the gardens we tend in the secret spaces of the world. As twilight's gentle sigh brushes across your windowsill, close your eyes and let the dusky air cradle you. Feel the soft weight of your breath slow, as though the very walls of this Roman domus exhale in unison, carrying the scent of olive oil, crushed myrtle, and the distant echo of cicadas fading into dusk. Tonight, you will wander through silent corridors of memory and possibility, tracing the hidden rights and wrongs of a Roman wife who dared to refuse. Let the hush carry you into a world at once opulent and oppressive, where marble floors gleam under the torchlight and every shadow bears witness to choices that dared not speak their names. You are the daughter of a venerable senator, your lineage carved into the marble steps of the family villa and sealed in wax on countless legal scrolls. From girlhood, your life was mapped by marriage contracts, drawn up before you could even form a coherent thought of desire. You learned early that your body was both a symbol and a vessel, a bridge between powerful families, a repository for heirs whose names would echo yours long after the dust of the city settled into oblivion. Yet beneath the gilded veneer of your pedigree, there always lingered another truth, a quiet ember of selfhood, pulsing beneath layers of linen and obligation. Tonight, you stand at the threshold of a decision forbidden by both custom and law. You have been called to the cubiculum, the private bedchamber where the culmination of marriage rituals is expected to take place. The flammeum lies folded on the polished oak table, its flame-colored folds a silent reminder of the torch you once bore at dawn, the ceremonial veil that bound you to your husband's will. In a few moments he will enter, and you will be expected to yield as the law decrees, to offer yourself in obedience, to fulfill your role in the sacred contract of matrimonium. But tonight, you will remember another path, the path taken by a few, whispered about by scandalized matrons and celebrated in hushed songs of resistance. Inhale the faint perfume of rose petals crushed beneath your sandals earlier that morning, petals strewn at your feet in triumph, marking the moments when you chose your own steps over the ones laid before you. Remember how their scent clung to your skin, bright and bittersweet, like the memory of a stolen kiss. Allow that scent now to guide you deeper into the heart of this story, as though your own senses reach back through the ages to reclaim what was once silenced. You were wed in early summer beneath an archway of evergreens and juniper boughs, when the city's breath was warm with promise. Your husband, Gaius Junius Vero, stood before the altar in a tunica picta woven with threads of purple, a sign of his standing in the senatorial order. His eyes, dark as polished onyx, regarded you not with tenderness, but with the clarity of ownership. He spoke his vows in measured Latin, each syllable echoing off marble columns. Ubi tu Gaius, ego Gaia, ubi ego Gaia, ibi Gaius. Where you are Gaius, there am I Gaia, and where you are Gaia, there am I Gaius. In those words lay both union and erasure, a promise that your identities would merge until they were indistinguishable. In the days that followed, you moved through the villa as both host and hostage. In the atrium, you greeted guests with gentle nods and carefully measured tones, offering honeyed words that concealed the tremor in your chest. In the peristyle garden, you walked among statues of Livia and Cornelia, their cold stone gazes reminding you of the destinies that had befallen virtuous wives. Devotion praised, selfhood diminished. At night, the bedchamber awaited, its crimson couch strewn with petals and cushions embroidered with laurel wreaths, a victory crown for a bride who had already lost much. Yet nothing prepared you for the morning when you awoke and found the will to refuse. Perhaps it was the memory of your mother's tears, shed in secret as she placed the bridal wreath in your hair. The same tears she had stifled before the matrons. Or perhaps it was the pregnant pause after your husband first touched your hand, a moment so charged with unspoken questions that you could taste rebellion on your tongue. In that instant, you understood that consent could be claimed as power, and refusal could be an act of liberty so profound it threatened the very foundations of patriarchy. So one evening, as the sun slipped beyond the hills and the olive groves exhaled their cooling breath, you slipped from the garden's embrace and prepared to stand at the threshold of your own destiny. You washed away the rose petal fragrance with cool water perfumed only by white lilies, their scent pure as the intention you were about to claim. You donned the tunica recta, your bridal tunic, its folds draped with solemnity rather than celebration. Every seam, every stitch, became a line in the narrative you were about to rewrite. In the courtyard, the silver setting of the lanterns cast a flickering glow upon the marble. Your mother's hand trembled as she bid you farewell, her eyes a mirror of both pride and fear. "Remember," she whispered, "we live between the law of the father and the will of the husband. Choose your step wisely." Her words were both blessing and warning, echoing the ancient edict, ubi tu Gaius ego Gaia, or ubi ego Gaia ibi Gaius. You carried her caution in your breast like a gem. You must hold your ground, but you must also survive. Inside the cubiculum, the air was heavy with incense. Frankincense and myrrh mingled in the hush, weaving their smoke between the columns of draped silk. The cushions awaited, each embroidered with the symbols of Venus and Juno, goddesses who presided over both union and sovereignty. The flicker of torchlight painted your husband's face in shifting relief, stern, expectant, unprepared for the answer you were about to give. He entered with the quiet authority of one accustomed to command. His footsteps, once a harbinger of ritual, now sounded to your ears like the measured beat of a man who had long taken your compliance for granted. He paused at the threshold, noticing the linen that clung to your form and the flammeum folded upon the table. He smiled, a formal curl of his lips, then stepped forward with the words he had spoken so many times. "Come, my wife, share this bed with me, that our bond may be sealed." In that moment, your breath caught, and you saw before you not just your husband, but the weight of generations pressing upon your shoulders. A torrent of images swirled behind your eyelids, the Vestal virgins whose vows of chastity were punished by burial alive, the Vestals who refused to yield and whose silent courage sparked legends, the daughters of Sulla and the conspirators of Catiline whose refusals, though muted, echoed in the halls of power. You realized that refusal need not always be loud. It could be a whisper strong enough to fracture the silence. You met his gaze, and in your voice, soft, unwavering, came the words no Roman wife had dared to utter in polite company. "No." The syllable floated in the scented air, a tremor of defiance that rippled through the room. You stood rooted, the silk of your tunic rustling as though breathing with you. He blinked, uncomprehending, as though the foundations of his world had shifted beneath his feet. For a heartbeat, you were suspended between dread and exhilaration, between the penalty of your act and the freedom it unveiled. He regained his composure, but his eyes held a flicker of something new. Uncertainty. "You refuse me?" he asked, voice low, barely above the rustle of silk. The syllables hung between you like stones suspended in water. You felt the hush deepen. Outside, the night's chorus fell silent, as though the olive trees themselves held their breath. "Yes," you whispered. "Tonight, I refuse." And in that simple admission, you felt your identity unfurl, no longer solely your husband's property, but the author of your own fate, if only for one night. He stepped back, shock tempered by outrage, his posture stiffening with threatened authority. The marriage contract, he must have thought, was broken, or at least tested. The law granted him the right to claim marriage bed. The law also granted a husband hardly any recourse when a wife withheld her body short of drastic measures. Yet custom, your mother had warned, could be as binding as law, and often more brutal in its enforcement. You waited, heart thundering, as he measured the distance between command and compliance. His lips moved, forming words that spoke of duty, of reputation, of gods and ancestors. Yet the weight of your refusal pressed upon him. He could demand, threaten, even cast you from the domus. But in that chamber, in that moment, you held the only power you needed, your own body, your own voice, your own will. Outside, The echo of his steps receded as he turned away, leaving you alone in the half-light of the cubiculum. The hush returned, deeper now, resonant with the tremors of possibility. You crossed to the window, drawing aside the silk and gazing at the silver sky, its stars bright with ancient fire. For a moment, you imagined yourself among them, each star a woman whose story burned bright despite the darkness. You drew in a steady breath, tasting the sharp tang of freedom. Rest now, dear one, as the night enfolds you. Let your refusal echo in the soft chambers of sleep, where no husband's decree can reach you. And as you drift between wakefulness and dreams, remember that even a single word, whispered in a cedar-lined chamber, can alter the course of history in the silent hearts of those who dare to say no. As dawn's pale fingers coax the world from slumber, you find yourself still within the hush of your own decision. The cubiculum's silken drapes filter the first light into muted ribbons, painting the room in shades of rose and ash. You lie beneath the folded flammeum, its flame-colored threads now cold and inert beneath your hand. In the quiet between breaths, you hear the distant stirrings of a villa awakening to ritual and routine. Footsteps on marble, the scrape of brooms in the peristyle, the soft clink of water jars tapped at the impluvium. Yet here, in this private sanctuary, time feels suspended as though your refusal has altered the very axis upon which the day will turn. Slowly, you rise. Your limbs feel strange, liberated yet burdened by the knowledge of what you have done. The bed's cushions bear the imprint of your resolve. The oil lamp, its wick spent, casts a faint ember of light that you let guide you across the oiled floor. You pause before the small bronze mirror set into the wall, a ritual mirror used by brides to survey their transformation. Now, it reflects not a bride at her ceremonial peak, but a woman irrevocably changed. Your eyes, once downcast in obedience, now bear a calm defiance, as though you have glimpsed a self no contract can bind. You dress with measured care, the tunica recta folded in its customary pleats, the belt cinched at your waist by the fibula of woven bronze. On any other morning, such preparation would carry the promise of celebration. Today, it serves as armor, encasing the fragile ember of your autonomy in the familiar shapes of matronly duty. As you adjust the flammeum in the silver stand, its warmth returned only by the memory of petal-strewn nights. You sense the villa holding its breath, awaiting the inevitable reply from the world you have dared to reshape. Outside your chamber, the corridor stretches silent. You descend the steps into the atrium, where sunlight streams through the compluvium, and the layers stand sentinel within their niches. They regard you with the impassive gaze of bronze idols, their arms raised not in judgment, but in eternal welcome. You utter the morning salutation, di bene facient, but its syllables sound hollow on your lips, a rote invocation in a day that defies routine. In the triclinium, the table is laid with the morning meal, bread still warm from the oven, olives plump with brine, and a bowl of honeyed figs meant to sweeten speech and spirit. You enter to find your husband already seated, his toga draped with studied elegance. His face is placid, but the taut line of his jaw betrays the turmoil beneath. You meet his gaze with the same calm resolve you saw in your own reflection, and he inclines his head with the courtesy of a man accustomed to command. He signals to the steward for your customary cup of pasca, and when it arrives, you lift it in a deliberate gesture of normalcy. Its sour warmth anchors you to the present, reminding you that while your refusal trembled the villa's foundations, life here still flows in currents of grain and wine. You sip, savoring the taste of continuity, even as your mind weaves the threads of what will come. Your husband clears his throat. In the soft clatter of bowls and the muted murmur of servants, his voice still carries the authority of paterfamilias. "Last night," he says, each word measured, "you refused me." Such refusals, though rare, cannot go unaddressed. The law affords a husband certain rights in the sacrament of matrimonium. He pauses, as though consulting the invisible ledger of custom. Yet the law also requires harmony within the household. His gaze flicks to the door, where your mother stands framed in the golden light, her expression unreadable. You lower your cup, the honeyed liquid cool on your tongue. "I am aware," you reply, quiet but unyielding. "And in the spirit of harmony, I ask that we speak as equals, not as masters and vassals." Your words hang between you like polished stones, a challenge carved in clarity. A hush descends. The steward freezes mid-step. The children's laughter in the garden outside falters to silence, and even the air seems to lean in to hear what will unfold. Your husband's lips press into a thin line, his posture bracing against a tide he cannot quell. "Speak plainly, wife," he says. "This counsel is not befitting a Matrona." You rise, the cup rattling against the table. "Perhaps not," you answer, "but a Matrona's counsel merits consideration. If I am to be bound by our marriage, then our dialogue must extend beyond the cubiculum. We stand as partners in the eyes of the layers. Let our agreement reflect that." Your mother's eyes glisten, and she offers you a faint nod, an unspoken blessing. Your husband leans back, and for a moment, the veneer of authority cracks. "Partners," he repeats, the word unfamiliar on his tongue. By custom, a wife's role is to support her husband's house, not to govern its affairs. His gaze sweeps the room. The layers, the daughters of clients awaiting audience, the silent bronze of household gods. But if you persist in this egalitarian notion, then the house will know uncertainty. You set your cup aside. Uncertainty, you echo, is the crucible of growth. A vine prospers when its roots must adapt to shifting soil. Let this house adapt, that it may flourish. You feel the old matron's caution, your mother's warning about law and custom, thrum beneath your ribs. Yet within that tension, you discover a delicate strength, the power to speak, the power to hold firm, the power to reshape even the weight of tradition. A murmur ripples as though the villa itself hesitates. The steward resumes his task with bowed head. Children's voices drift once more from the garden, and the flame of the hearth rekindles its steady glow. Your husband exhales, a slow release of breath that carries both resignation and respect. "We will speak again at dusk," he says. "In the meantime, you shall attend the council of clients. Your voice will be heard." His gaze falters for an instant, as though he wonders what he has agreed to. The rest of the morning unfolds as if under a new sky. You accompany your husband through the atrium into the audience hall, where clients of every station await, freedmen seeking arbitration, equestrians presenting petitions, and matrones seeking counsel. Normally, your presence would be ornamental, a quiet nod, a few words of grace to confirm the orders already issued. Today, the hushed anticipation in the room greets you as an unexpected herald. You step forward, shoulders squared, and greet the first petitioner by name, acknowledging her case with thoughtful queries that betray a genuine interest. You guide the discussion with deft measures. Have you considered the terms of restitution? Does your witness's testimony align with the oath taken? As you speak, you feel the rustling of scrolls, the gentle deference of petitioners, the approving nods of the steward at your side. When at last the business concludes, the hall is abuzz with quiet astonishment. The clients disperse with murmured gratitude, and the steward approaches, bowing low. "My lady," he murmurs, "your wisdom has quelled more than one grievance this morn." You offer him a gracious smile, the first genuine expression of the day. In that moment, you know that your refusal in the cubiculum has rippled outward, fracturing assumptions and illuminating possibilities. In the afternoon, you withdraw to the peristyle garden. The long benches beneath the vine-clad archways invite reflection. You partake of a simple meal, bread, cheese, and water, scented with a sprig of mint. The breeze carries the laughter of your daughters, playing among the hedges, unconstrained by the weight of contracts. You observe them, their carefree joy a reminder of the self you once were. You feel the venom of generational longing. These children born into expectation, yet for now their steps remain uncharted. You rise and wander to the corner where a small fountain murmurs over moss-stained marble. The water's gentle ripple seems to carry both memory and promise, as though the villa itself acknowledges your passage into a new role. You press your palm to the cold stone and whisper a vow, to guide your daughters not through contracts alone, but through counsel, autonomy, and the whispered strength of a mother who once learned to say no. As dusk approaches, the villa is suing. Torchbearers rekindle fires in the braziers. You return to the cubiculum, its candles waiting like silent sentinels. Your husband is there, seated on the crimson couch where last night you refused him. He rises at your entrance, a flicker of deference in his posture. You take your seat beside him, the flammeum resting folded at your side, a symbol no longer of enforced obedience, but of partnership and mutual recognition. He reaches for your hand, his touch tentative yet deliberate. "Tell me," he says, voice low, "what have you learned?" In that question rests the promise of a new covenant, one forged not in contracts alone, but in conversation, compromise, and the shared stewardship of a house and family. You breathe, meeting his gaze. That refusal need not be the end. You answer softly. It can be the beginning of a different path, one we walk together. The words settle between you like petals on water, fragile yet full of grace. Outside, the vines flit with the bat's wing, and the night wind carries the promise of olive blossoms. Inside, a new hush envelops you, a hush not of bondage, but of possibility. And as you lean into his hand, you know that in the soft breaking of tradition, you have kindled a new dawn for this house, this family, and perhaps in the echo of your refusal, for the silent hearts of women yet unborn. As the lamps gutter low and the household settles into its evening rhythm, you awake again, this time at the edge of choice and consequence. You rise from the crimson couch where your husband's question still echoes and move through the corridor's hush toward the peristyle garden. Here, beneath trailing vines and the chorus of night insects, you prepare for the third act of your defiance, embracing the public rituals that once bound you, now recalibrated by your newfound agency. First, the Vestal's Vigil. You enter the small shrine of Vesta, its marble altar warm from the day's offerings. The fire within the hearth, usually tended by a Vestal virgin, has been banked to a soft glow. You dip a slender wick into olive oil and light it, holding the lamp until its flame catches. In ancient Rome, a wife's role often paralleled the Vestal's, guardian of hearth and home. Yet whereas the Vestal vowed chastity, you have vowed partnership. Let this flame symbolize the new covenant you forge, not obedience alone, but shared stewardship of hearth and spirit. You pour a libation of wine into a bronze bowl, whispering the words you have learned by rote, yet now suffused with personal intent. May Vesta bless this home and unite our hearts in mutual respect. You place the lamp beside the hearth and step back, feeling the warmth not as command but as invitation, a light to guide both you and your husband into the uncharted night of partnership. 2. The Council of Women. From the Vestal Shrine, you glide toward the upper gallery, where the villa's matronly, your mother, your sister perhaps, have gathered in subdued lamplight. These women, once bound by custom to placate husbands and advise daughters, now await your words. You seat yourself upon a low stool carved with laurel leaves, and the hush deepens until only your voice remains. "My sisters," you begin softly, "we have borne the weight of silent obedience for too long. Tonight I have refused in the cubiculum, and in that refusal I discovered a new power, the power of consent, the power of voice. Let us bind ourselves not in chains of duty, but in threads of solidarity." Murmurs of surprise flutter through the circle, some reverent, others anxious. Your mother's eyes glisten with pride, your sister's brow furrows with disbelief. You pass clay tablets around, each inscribed with a single word, voice, choice, agency, and ask each woman to add her own. By candlelight, you witness the pages fill with names, hopes, and silent prayers, a ledger of reclaimed selfhood. In that sacred council, you plant seeds of change that may one day bloom beyond your walls. Munjam, the banquet of allies. As midnight approaches, you descend to the triclinium, where a small banquet has been laid out. Roasted figs, fresh garlands of greens, amphorae of sweet Falernian wine. Your husband awaits, flanked by a handful of guests, trusted friends and clients whose favor he values. In the hush of the banquet hall, you see in their faces both expectation and curiosity. He rises in welcome, gesturing to the cushions beside him. Traditionally, this meal would follow consummation, a silent affirmation of hierarchy. Tonight, it serves a different purpose, an invitation to witness a new dynamic. You seat yourself beside him, lifting a goblet and raising it in a clear, unhurried toast. To partnership, a ripple of surprise passes through the gathered men. Your husband's lips curve in a tentative smile as he echoes, "To partnership." As wine is poured, the air warms with quiet celebration. Conversation flows, questions arise, and for the first time, your insights on estate management, client petitions, and household welfare carry equal weight. Each word you speak carries the fire of yesterday's refusal, tempered now by the grace of shared endeavor. In the flicker of torchlight on polished marble, you catch glimmers of respect in the eyes that once regarded you only as ornament. Nan Gavde, the midnight pilgrimage. When the banquet ends, you slip away from the hall with your husband at your side. Instead of returning directly to the cubiculum, he leads you through the atrium and out beneath the stars to the villa's small shrine of the Penates, household gods who guard posterity and prosperity. In the cool night air, you stand before them, each deity's bronze form catching moonlight like silent witnesses. I refused, you whispered to the Penates, and in that refusal I found our truest bond. May our children inherit not only our name, but this lesson, that love built on consent endures, and that power shared strengthens rather than diminishes. You pour a final libation of water, and the hushed drip of liquid on stone seems an answer. A promise sealed in sacred murmurs. Your husband kneels beside you, placing his hand over yours. In that gesture, the night's full arc completes, from private refusal to public covenant, from silenced obedience to shared stewardship, from solitary defiance to united purpose. The Penates bear witness, their silent gaze affirming the delicate new path you chart together. Rest now, dear one, as the lamps in your chamber burn low and the echoes of the night's counsels drift into memory. Let sleep carry you through the quiet corridors of partnership, where refusal blooms into choice and where every whispered vow becomes a step toward a dawn defined not by law alone, but by love, and the gentle power of two hearts walking side by side. As the first light of dawn steals softly through the vine-clad lattice, you awaken to a hush unlike any before, a hush born not of obedience, but of expectation. Yesterday's refusal, last night's counsels, and the midnight vow to the Penates have woven threads of change throughout the villa, and now the world awaits your next step. Slide from the crimson couch and cross the cool marble floor, where each echoing footfall reminds you that nothing here remains untouched by the ember you lit. You dress in the pale gold tunic of mourning, its folds catching the new light like droplets on a strand of wheat. In the mirror's burnished surface, you behold a woman transformed, the same soft features but eyes bright with purpose. You brush your hair back from your brow, then bind it simply with a ribbon of white linen. No elaborate coiffure today, for restraint itself is your declaration. At the door, your mother stands, her face both proud and wistful. She offers you a cup of water drawn from the villa's own well, and you accept it with a nod, tasting its clarity as a promise of the day ahead. In the atrium, the layers await their morning libation. You pour fresh water into the bronze bowl and murmur your customary salutation, but today your words carry both petition and pledge. De beneficient, may the gods bless this day and bless the harmony we forge. The flame of yesterday's lamp still smolders in its brazier, a silent witness to your vow. You touch its banked coals, closing your eyes as embers crackle, an echo of the transformation set in motion. Your husband emerges from the triclinium, toga neatly arranged, bearing the official scrolls of his office. In a Rome driven by law and record, these parchments govern fate. He moves to your side, and in the still morning, he offers you the first of many choices. Will you join me in reviewing the provincial accounts? In another life, such an offer would have been unthinkable, reserved for men alone. Yet now, in the wake of refusal and counsel, it is a gesture of inclusion. You accept, slipping your hand into his, and together you walk through archways that echo with the hush of possibility. In the audience hall, the steward stands ready with ledgers detailing grain shipments to Sicily, tax assessments on vineyard estates, and allocations for public games. Today, these matters are your concern as well. You run your fingers over the wax seals and watch as the steward unfurls the parchments. These figures, you say, require adjustment in light of the recent drought. Your voice is calm but firm, carrying the weight of knowledge gleaned in hours of private study. Your husband nods, and even the steward's brow, usually furrowed with deference, lifts in surprise at your insight. As the morning sun climbs, you move from accounts to petitions, villagers seeking relief after flooding, freedmen requesting letters of introduction to new patrons, even soldiers' widows pleading for pensions. In each case, you listen with the same care you once offered to your own daughter's childhood sorrows. You speak not with the authority of fiat, but with the empathy of someone who has known both the hush of refusal and the power of partnership. When you adjourn, the hall hums not with gossip, but with shared purpose. You return to the peristyle garden at midday, where your daughters have laid a simple meal upon a marble bench. Bread, fresh figs, and cool spring water laced with honeysuckle. They beam at you, their small faces alight with pride. Mama, your eldest says, you are like the priestess who cares for the fire. You sit among them, savoring the soft sweetness of figs and the laughter that rises above the hum of estate activity. In this moment, you taste the fruits of yesterday's courage, your children's unguarded joy. After the meal, you slip away to the villa's small library, a cool chamber lined with scrolls and tablets. Here you have stored the clay tablet ledger of women's voices begun in the upper gallery, and you brush your fingertips across its unbaked surface. Each word pressed into clay is a testament to lives too often hushed. Today, you add a new entry. Aurelia Gaia, wife and partner, speaks with wisdom earned in counsel and courage found in refusal. You seal the clay with gentle pressure, knowing that this archive will endure beyond memory, a record for daughters yet to come. As afternoon wanes, the villa's treasury advisor arrives with a request to allocate funds for the festival of Ceres, honoring the grain goddess whose favor ensures the harvest. Traditionally, the decision would rest with your husband and his male guests. Today, though, you lead the delegation to the atrium where the lairs stand in silent endorsement. You propose a portion of the treasury be dedicated not only to grand games, but to relief for the poorest farmers, those whose fields lie beyond the wealth of the city. Your husband, seated by your side, raises no objection. Together you sign the decree, your names tied in bronze ink to the welfare of many. In the cooling dusk, you walk once more through the stone colonnade, pausing beneath the statue of Livia Drusilla. The marble empress gazes serenely into the distance, her head crowned with laurel. You allow yourself a quiet smile. Her strength was shaped by circumstance, yet your own is forged by choice. You lay a sprig of laurel at her feet, a token of shared resilience across centuries. The evening repast is a quiet affair, attended by a handful of close friends and confidants. You recline on the couch, the tunica's pale gold a soft glow in torchlight. Conversation flows easily, no longer a recitation of roles, but a genuine exchange of thoughts on estate, family, and the tides of empire. As wine passes hand to hand, you feel the hush of yesterday's tensions dissolve into a warm current of unity. Here, in this intimate circle, refusal has blossomed into fellowship. Finally, you retire to the cubiculum, this time not as a space of ritual command, but as the sanctuary of rest earned through a day of shared governance. Your husband sits beside you, placing his hand lightly on yours. Tonight, he says, we honor the vow we made beneath the penates. He draws the flammeum toward you, its flame-colored folds now transformed from a shroud into a banner of partnership. You smile, tracing the threads with your fingers. Under the velvet hush, you lean into his embrace, not as property nor vassal, but as equal in purpose and passion. The hush deepens, richer for the voices now woven into its fabric. And as you drift towards sleep, you feel the echo of your refusal pulsing through the silent villa. A legacy of quiet courage, a dawn redefined by the gentle power of choice.